Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 365 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports Podcast family. Put the last couple off the glass and out, Biz. Had to step up a little this time, even if it took me a couple times. Boys, we had a big scoop this week for the hockey world, even if some of them don't want to give us credit. Outstandingly surprising news from Winnipeg with the coach resigning out of the blue. Tons of stuff to get to this week, but we got to say hi to the boys first. Mikey Grinelli running the Chiclets Cup. Things are going crazy. What's the latest, pal?
The latest is I'm back home in Burlington, Massachusetts. I'm here for the holidays, and it's my mom's birthday this week actually as well. So happy birthday, Sue. But I think I'm going to be a great son this year, and spoil my mom for her birthday, for Christmas. Just really get her a ton of presents and
lingerie.
Fuck you.
Oh.
And I get onto the train today, and I forgot every single one of them in New York City. So I'm just a piece of shit son. -2 to start the family trip home. So I'm struggling, boys.
Ugh.
So if you really wanted to impress her, you'd go buy them all again, and then make sure that you had gifts for it. And you can't buy true, like respect and love. You just hurt your time is what would really get to her heartstrings, buddy. It's not about the gifts. It's about the time spent with the ones.
That's a great point, Ryan. All right. That's
She's not worried about the gifts.
Okay, good.
Maybe making something in the next 24 hours, like hard boil an egg and paint it, kind of like you do on Easter. What would be a good Christmas gift that you could make? Maybe a wreath?
A wreath?
What do you give away for Christmas that you would make, Whit? A card?
I don't know how many people are making gifts these days. I guess it's still common if you're making blankets and sewing things for your grandma, but
you knit something.
I'm buying stuff. I mean, in terms of what Grinelli could not do is give her lingerie, which is what you originally mentioned.
That's a little sick and twisted, isn't it? That's how half the videos I start or I watch start out.
Speaking of videos, Biz, that's a
subscription service.
That's a foreign background behind you. What are you making, a Brazzers video tonight or what? Where are you?
Is that a speaker?
I'm in Buffalo, New York, and I can't say what I'm up to. But all right, you were up to something all secretive last week.
I was.
Well, I'm up to my old secret stuff as well. So we can't tell you Chiclets fans what I'm doing in Buffalo, New York, but they're going to
be excited when they find out, though.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true. Much like when they find out what RA's doing. So I know a lot of secrets, and we got we're blue balling our fans a little bit with all these things that we can't tell them so yet. But down the road, I think you guys will really enjoy it. And as you said, RA, a ton of, some not so shocking, some very shocking hockey news to get to. But as far as my trip to Canada, that's where I was before this. It was great seeing my folks. Oh, fuck. You guys will love this one. Cameron goes downstairs. He has to drop a few crisp towels off in the bathroom. And I think that Katie had snuck off and he was unaware that she was using the shower. And then, of course, out doing her makeup. Cameron walks in, fucking gets a nice view of Katie's bolt-ons. Maybe even.
No, she just so happened to be standing directly facing him. No clothes on.
I have my bathroom separate all the way downstairs in the basement. And he had no clue that anybody was down there because she'd snuck off to go get ready for the nightly festivities. And he opens the door and, it's like the scene out of Dumb and Dumber when you got the.
Yeah, but why didn't he just say, I bought you this thong for Christmas, so I was just giving it to you.
He was dropping off the lingerie. Got you sandbagging son of a bitch. So it was quite the interesting weekend at the Bissonnette household. Very much like the time I walked in on my sister getting plowed by her or my now brother-in-law by another ball.
Yeah, and not to be confused with the time your mother caught you diddling yourself
for the 17th time.
Every time I go home, it just reminds me of these awkward situations I found myself in.
You haven't been there in 2 years.
It's almost like, is it worse to get caught by your mother or your father?
So anyway, interesting trip. Great to see all my family and friends. We ended up going out to a local spot called Trappers. So it was good, boys. Just kind of take a step back and enjoy the old friendships and share some stories. So good to go here.
Biz, I spent a couple of days up North Ontario, and I noticed, we always say, I'm sorry with Canada, but I think no worries is maybe overtaken. I'm sorry. I know you say it on the pod all the time, but I didn't realize how much. And someone on like a few people online said, well, when someone says I'm sorry, that they respond with no worries. And it's like
that. So that's the millennial version of saying sorry. In Canada, sometimes different pockets, especially in Ontario, the lingo definitely differentiates. Big word for me. Keep the change.
Dunzo.
But yeah, no, I drop the no worries quite a bit. I also say cheers quite a bit, even when I'm not drinking. That might rub some people the wrong way and really piss some people off. But that's probably the least of what I've said to piss people off on this podcast.
Yeah. People get mad at giving a quick cheers.
With no alcohol. Like if you cheers, bud, cheers, bud, cheers, bud. You know, like if you don't have one, they're kind of like, why are you saying that? It's just become a bad habit.
I don't mind that. I can picture you doing that to everyone at like Barstool office, bing, bing. I can picture that. It's not bad though. That's not annoying.
Yeah. Well,
Canadians always sign their emails with cheers. Anytime you connect me with a Canadian, they always sign their email cheers.
Yeah, it's not always an alcoholic thing. It usually is, but there are some societies it's just like like Ireland, they say it there like quite a bit, like cheers. I mean, although most of the time,
or like Boston when you say goodbye and you're like, "Fuck you fucking asshole."
You goddamn cocksucker. Fuck you. I wanted to go to an OHL game when I was up there, Biz. Unfortunately, this be a recurring theme for this show, the COVID bullshit. I wasn't able to see my first junior game in Canada, but I had the
Wolf gave it to everybody. The Wolf got it on the track line and gave it to all the fans.
He bit you. But I had actually a really cool, like full circle moment. Like I didn't realize it driving up because I had a snooze on the way up, but coming home, I was like, holy shit, we drive through Parry Sound. And like, I may have had time to pull over and go to the museum, but like with the COVID airports shit, I didn't want to fuck around traffic in Toronto. I'm like, but just going through, it was kind of crazy because like, Parry Sound obviously is where Bobby Orr is from. He came to Boston. My parents got season tickets his rookie year. And then I was born into like that fandom and led me to ultimately this career. And then like this career led me to this fun little thing I did in Ontario. And I drove through Parry Sound on the way back, and it was just like kind of like hit you in the face, like this real serendipitous thing. But it was pretty fucking cool, man. That's why I gave like a shout out to Bobby on Instagram while we were driving by.
RA pulled over, took a piss on the side of the highway in order to show his respect.
Hey, little did he know the sign said Parry Sound this way, but it was like 190 miles from Parry Sound down that highway, so he wasn't even near it.
That's right, kids. Kids, as long as we get over the river.
Yeah. Exactly.
Those I get a picture of that sign that says Parry Sound. Yeah, so God bless Bobby Orr. Without him, this podcast doesn't exist in the end, possibly. Because he was my agent too. He was my agent. Let's all trace this thing back to Bobby Orr.
In Parry Sound. And like I said, there was this serendipitous moment. I got to drive through it on the way home after basically being a Donkey Bruins fan, but we'll get to that later.
Not only your agent, Whit, but also my coach at the top prospects game where I fought Dion Phaneuf.
He must have loved that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also, we want to thank PJ Stock for his appearance last week. Wildly popular, guys, right? I mean, the feedback, we get great feedback every week, but PJ, like I said, when we interviewed him, he's such a folk hero here. The feedback was great. He was great. Just want to thank him again.
The funniest line I hadn't heard, because when we're doing these things, you miss a lot. I swear to God, there's so many different things I end up seeing on Twitter or getting clips of that I don't even remember. And whoever he was fighting said the guy connected with his 18th lucky right in a row.
Rob Ray, yeah.
Hit me with his 18th lucky right. So I saw that. I didn't remember him saying that, but he was very entertaining, full of life. I enjoyed talking to him a lot.
Fuck, he had about 16 veins popping out of his head during that one.
Yeah, he was amped up.
Oh my goodness. Just like a nail gun when he played, man. Yeah, tough as they come, folks. So if you guys haven't had a chance to listen to that one, go back, and we got a couple more doozies for you today.
Yeah, good stuff, Biz. We got Australian Nathan Walker. He got called up last week by the Blues. Next night, he gets a hat trick. Of course, he's the first Australian to be drafted in the NHL, first to score a goal, first to win a Stanley Cup. Everything this guy is the first Australian to do. What a great personality. We brought him on the other day. You're going to love that interview. And we also have one of Biz's old coaches, Jim Playfair, current assistant in Edmonton. Oilers fans are going to love the insight they get tonight, Biz.
I agree, man. It's just good to hear about how you have to coach these modern day players, a little bit of a different change. But Jimmy was always good to me, a great assistant, very knowledgeable. We talk about, the advances you have to make as an assistant coach in order to keep up and, teach these kids what they need to know as far as the video component. As far as Walker, he was a treat too. I fucked up a little bit. I thought that he'd had a point in the actual finals of the Stanley Cup.
I didn't want to I don't want to be a dick and correct you during it, so I figured it'd be nicer if you.
No, you didn't have to. I saw the look on your face when I asked him the question, and you're like, "What the fuck is this asshole saying?" So, hey, typical Spittin Chiclets, not knowing our facts, but you guys still hang out. You guys still love it.
Well, there is one fact I know, Mikey Grinelli. There are still openings for the Chiclets Cup at All-Star Weekend in Vegas. Huh? Like, fill us in, dude.
There are spots for the Chiclets Cup, and there are also free agent spots. RA put out that video this weekend. We're now accepting free agents. So if you don't have a team, there are a lot of goalies. A lot of goalies have reached out, said they want to come play. They don't have a team to play for. So just go to chicletscup.com and sign up. There's still roller teams. There's still ball hockey teams. And maybe you get the chance to go up against old Biz Nasty over here.
Well, that's pretty cool. So if you don't have a squad, you could show up. You get thrown on some random team, meet some new friends. I mean, there's going to be tons of people around anyway. At this point, I hope the NHL still has the All-Star game going on. But hey, if you guys end up there and there are no festivities, we are going to be throwing an absolute shaker. Please join us for those couple days. We're going to have the sign-up party on the Wednesday. We're going to end up having a crazy party on the Thursday night. What was that, February 3rd, Grinelli?
That is correct.
And then leading into the weekend that has Pro Bowl in Vegas. So join us. We're going to have a great time, and it's going to be some good hockey.
Yeah, if you're one of these lone wolves who comes to Chiclets events solo, this is the fucking place to do it because you'll blend in with everybody. Plus, like with all the shit going with the NHL, there should be more NHL All-Stars in town this weekend, so even more folks to stop by.
Biz, it's like the single who just goes to the golf course and gets put with a threesome. But with golf, I mean, with Chiclets, instead of having to play golf with three nerds or maybe one nerd, if you're the three guys hanging out, you get to come to Chiclets, join a team in Vegas, and then just like smoke drugs with RA for 3 days. So it's a wonderful scenario if anyone's alone and just wants to join a squad.
Okay, let me ask you about that. The join up guy. How do you feel? How many times has that ruined your round where you gotta?
I think I mentioned the one time I've dealt with it in maybe 5 years was this summer when at Maya Comet in Nantucket when the guy's like, we're not playing the tips. The tips were closed, because they had some enormous tournament. The U.S. Mid-Am was coming. And I said, well, Bud, the tees are closed. I'd love to play there. He's like, oh, my God, this course is so short. He proceeded to pound 3 balls directly out of bounds off the first tee and shot about 130. So, I mean, like, those are the type of people that would use.
If you bitch about the tips and you shoot 130, you should never be let on a golf
I also
course.
shot 65 that day. And at the end, the guy's like, nice meeting you. I'm like, you don't even know what I just did, you fucking clown. So I know stories of amazing people, singles that joined 3 guys, been good dudes. Like, it's worked out good. I also know times when you get the guy who maybe you're like, oh, my God, we're stuck with this dude.
Hey, next thing you know, the guy's getting your mom lingerie on Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Your besties, he's plowing your mom. Anyway,
it's $2 for Biz.
Yeah. All right, what do we got here?
First up, we do want to let you know, tis the season, gang. Holiday parties are up the wazoo, and that means a constant flow of Pink Whitney for everyone. Bring a bottle when you show up to every party you go to. You want to be a deadbeat, and if parties aren't your thing, then head over to your local bar and order some Pink Whitney there. You boys all stocked up for the holidays or what? Biz?
I always got Pink Whitney on flow. Although the sooner I get it, the sooner I'm giving it away, especially in Scottsdale. I know I did that giveaway last week with those guys, but always stocked up, RA. And for those of you out there, make sure you drink responsibly over the holidays. Make sure you take a cab, maybe an Uber ride. Maybe you go for a stroll. Don't get behind the wheel if you're sucking back Pink Whitney.
You know what it's good for this time of year, too, is tipping like the Amazon or the UPS guy. If they come by frequently this time of year, they love nothing more than a bottle of Pink Whitney, I'll tell you that.
That's what you tip them with. Hey, all right, folks.
Hey, and you love not having to spend any money to tip them either. All right, that's a win-win.
I mean, it's like 3 bottles a year. I think I want my second case of Pink Whitney.
Hey, no, I'm saying it's a great move, but it's also nice. Hey, I didn't pay for this, and here you go, bud.
Yeah,
it's a win-win.
Yeah. If it's free, it's for me. I mean, I pay for this hat.
Don't use it to clean off your knuckles if you get in a bar fight. So happen punch some guy's grill out.
One's for.
That's what the Captain Morgan's for, folks.
Shout out 47.
Did you dip it in? Did you pour it all over? Did you dip it in something that was filled with Captain Morgan?
No, I poured Captain Morgan all over. I thought we got a hook, line, and sinker. We're out of here. We're out of trouble, folks. 7 days in the hospital. So, RA, we got some hockey to talk about, though. I don't want to.
Well, no, I mean,
the rails.
Humble brag here, but we broke a huge story on Sunday, and people can snicker or not give us credit or whatever, but we were the first to report that, per a source to us, that NHL players will not be going to China for the Olympics. I know a few other outlets sort of reported or said they were hearing the same thing, but we're standing by it. We got it from a great source. We don't doubt. The league and the union met over the weekend. Nothing has been officially announced, but since our report, like I said, others have basically reported the same, kind of parroted what we said. Players were still gung-ho this week. Our buddy Strick had an anonymous quote from a player saying he didn't give a shit. He still wanted to go. And, it is possible that individual players could go on their own dime and do all that on their own. But if this isn't fully endorsed by the whole organizations the way it's supposed to be, it's just a huge risk for these guys to go there on their own, risk 2 quarantines and loss of pay. Patriotism is nice to have and being proud to wear your country's colors. But at a certain point, it's just like it's counterintuitive. So, they're going to have this break for the Olympics now with no Olympics. Apparently, you got to think, Biz, they're going to just make up as many games as they can to maintain the schedule integrity, because the loyalty is to the NHL and the schedule,
yes,
not the Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee.
Especially what they've been through, and now using that gap of time during the Olympics to maybe make up some games. I don't know exactly what the plan is now. As far as not one single NHL player going, you could get a federation or a president or whatever, a leader of a country who's willing to buck up and not only pay for all the travel, pay for the fact that if he might pay for all the missed games, because as I mentioned, there's potentially missed games that could be made up during that time. And if for whatever reason you test positive and you stay in a holding cell for 5 weeks and you have to forfeit pay from the NHL, maybe they'll even buck up and pay for that. But for most people, I would assume, especially North America, there's going to be no Olympics. And as you said, RA, I think at this point it would be stupid to jeopardize the NHL season, given what they've dealt with in the past and how they got to get they got to get the 82 games in and they got to get playoffs. And I know a lot of people are very disappointed by this. And this is I think it's a little bit short-sighted, I guess what I could say. You could have a great all-star game experience still, hopefully, and get all the players there, enjoy that, get the 82 games and get a great playoff in. That way the players are not behind the 8 ball as far as what they're going to owe the owners, given the escrow and how much money they am and how backlogged they are and regarding that status. But also the fact is right now you're on pace. You can take the season off. Everybody can get away from the COVID bullshit if they have to, and then they can continue next season right as scheduled. I think the Olympics at this point does not do anybody any favors, especially from an NHL standpoint.
Yeah. Well said, Biz. Bravo. You too, RA. I am confused. So when we broke that story, did just nobody say that, like, we didn't get any sort of credit or anything?
There are a couple of reporters outlets who I've certainly given credit to over the years. They, I don't know if they saw it, ignored it, didn't pay into it, but they said, we're hearing that this, and clearly we called it. We're not making it up. Like, listen, I've been doing this for 14 fucking years on Barstool. I've whiffed on a story or two, but that's because things changed. I didn't fucking make stuff up. Nobody here made stuff up. We got it collectively, and fucking it's true. So, Pierre LeBrun, he tweeted at 11:30, whatever, and I don't think he heard it from us, and I'm sure he got it on his own. But typically in the business, people say, "Oh, so and so had it first," and he didn't, others didn't. I will say, our pal Bouchard, because last night after someone pointed out this to me, like, "Oh, these people are saying the same thing you guys said, but they're not saying who had it first." And I retweeted our story, like, in case you missed it, from earlier this afternoon when we had it, like, we posted with the Scooby-Doo fucking gift for a laugh. And Bucci fucking retweeted that fucking afterwards to say, like, hey, these motherfuckers had it first. I mean, I know he didn't just come out and say it, but that's what he was subtly saying,
As long as if we're wrong, we don't get any heat. I don't need the credit if we break it, right?
And Paul. And
I don't want to hear a word if this isn't true, fellas.
And if it is, well, that's the thing. That's I would say the glory. But if this somehow doesn't pan out, it's going to take a crazy set of circumstances. Our source didn't lead us astray. It would take something fucked up. So, I've gotten frosted on sources. I said Torrey Krug his rights are going to get traded. Didn't happen. I feel like an asshole, but based on what I was told at the time, things changed after, but I don't think that's going to happen here. So yeah, we had it first. It's a good thing. I know you guys are the hockey players, and me and Connolly are the fucking media nerds, but it's fun to have that and fucking beat everybody to it.
Did we just pump our tires the last 4 minutes? Is that what we did?
That. So what, man? Who cares?
Okay, all right, that's fine. What do you think?
I wonder who even wants to go to the Olympics, and when it's not the NHLers, like these guys in Europe still want to go and possibly be stuck there for 5 weeks and not get paid. Like,
I know one kid who wants to go, Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, our Barstool athlete, sent me a text message and said, "Get Spittin Chiclets on the Johnny Walker to Beijing train. He wants to go. He's like 28."
I know, but like, so he would rather go over there and do that instead of playing his college year, playing at ASU. Johnny, are you stupid?
Dude, he's played like 35 years there.
What?
He's played like 35 years there.
I know, but this is his last kick at the can at ASU. Going over and sitting in China for fucking 55 days doesn't sound too appealing. And not being on campus. I don't know. I understand playing for your country is amazing. Like, it's an incredible feeling. But who wants to go do this? With what's going on right now with COVID in China, fuck that.
And I don't want to sound too negative. I love Olympic hockey. I love when you get Team USA versus Team Canada, all the juggernauts. But what would we be risking here? Basically a good chunk of the NHL season if shit got out of hand. And for what? Maybe 6 or 8 games that people are going to actually watch front to back.
Markstrom to get hot as hell and Swedes to upset everybody.
There you go. That's what we
already had a future on it. That's probably the case.
But that's what we would be risking here. If you want to watch 8 unbelievable games of hockey, and of course you can grow the game. And guys, I'm the first one to say I love Olympic hockey. I thought it was ridiculous even before this outbreak that they were considering going over and to jeopardize this NHL season. This one right here. And this one's important. And given the parity in the league, and let's look at it from an NHL standpoint right now. How many teams would you say are under the gun to win a Stanley Cup now?
Fuck, a dozen, easily, half the league. I mean, everybody.
I would say
that's
easily.
Hard to say, where like people would be fired if they don't.
No, I'm saying is like right now, think of how many Cup favorites you got in your head. You could probably say, well, Jesus Christ, man, Vegas is on a bit of a. Yeah, 6. Vegas, Colorado, New York Rangers. I mean, fuck, you can't really count Pittsburgh out of the mix for crying out loud.
Tampa Bay is okay.
Tampa Bay, Florida.
Just 4 points separate the top 12 teams right now.
There you go.
You could say 10. You could probably say 10. The 10 teams could legit win the Cup.
I mean, there you go. Yeah.
You're watching the best hockey right now. Let's not fuck it up. It sucks we're not getting Olympics, but folks, stop thinking so short-sighted. We got still a half a season more, of NHL hockey and unbelievable playoffs. The only thing that would really suck, and you notice the big difference, is the amount of emotion when the fans are in the building as opposed to not. If they have to go back to the bubble format.
No, don't even get me started.
We won't even go there. Let's not be negative. Let's keep it positive here. No.
Right,
and move forward.
Hey, that's why I wore my NHL hat tonight, Paul, because we're not about the IOC. We're about the NHL. We want our NHL schedule to get finished and our playoffs to be proper. Also, a smaller ripple effect too, Biz, we mentioned, and obviously much further down the line, but a lot more of these all-stars who aren't going to China now might come to Vegas to either participate in the game, hang out with the Chiclets boys, party a little bit, meet the fans. I mean, little ripple effect I thought was worth mentioning.
Absolutely. And I think that's another element that grows the game. Now, as far as making up games, we're at close to 50 now as far as games lost. Are they planning on making those up during that Olympic break, or have they not said a word so far?
They haven't said anything. So when they come out, I don't know what's today. We're recording Monday. So either Tuesday or Wednesday, they'll essentially confirm our report that there will be no Olympics. And I'm sure they're going to give the rest of the lowdown from that. So,
and I'm sure they've been working on that a little while now too.
Yeah, contingency plans, absolutely.
Getting ahead of it as much as you can now.
And you got to wonder too, like Billy Guerin and Chris Drury. Guerin was named the Team USA GM, Drury assistant GM. These guys are probably like Coleman, like hockey DB and like elite prospects right now, trying to fucking fill this roster for the Olympics. I mean, they're great guys. They do it.
Will they still be going? Will they still be going? Like if the NHL players aren't going?
I don't. That's why I'm wondering. I mean, do they?
I wouldn't. Do they not do it?
I mean, do they?
You can't leave the way the Rangers and the Wild are going. I mean, who knows? Yeah. Maybe they do, but I would think that might that might be a duty handed over to USA Hockey, but that is kind of odd to all of a sudden say, all right, I'm out. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work.
I would say there's no way, and they just canceled the Spengler Cup. I'm not saying Canada left the Spengler Cup. They didn't cancel it. Oh, same thing.
Spengler Cup, for people who don't know, is an awesome tournament. I think it's 100 years old.
Yeah, it's the oldest hockey tournament in the league.
Is it in the world?
Pretty sure it's the oldest hockey tournament in the world.
Well, it's played in Davos, Switzerland, just this beautiful area right in the mountains, and people love it. Actually, Upshaw won it. I think the last time they played it, Canada won it. They didn't play it last year. I might be off, but it is a great event. Canada always sends a national team, and unfortunately, they won't be going. They're out.
I'm going to put the caveat with that this is on Wikipedia, and I haven't had time to cite the source, but first held in 1923, the Spengler Cup is often cited as the oldest invitational ice hockey tournament in the world. So I knew I had read it somewhere. Again, it's Wikipedia, so I won't sign off on it, but if it is, still pretty cool. And Switzerland is one of those places I want to get to big time.
They won't let you in. I know they won't let you in for a fact.
Dude, I got connections.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So I guess we could put an ending to all the COVID talk, guys. It's mostly speculation. We've had our opinions on it, right? As far as a group,
as far as the Olympics, but like there's still the other part of like the schedule we didn't get to. And I know, it's the last fucking thing we want to talk about. Trust us, but it's the news, so we got to relay it and get it out of our system here. Again, a bunch of games have been postponed. More teams have shut it down until after Christmas. Detroit was the latest. They joined Boston, Nashville, Colorado, Florida, Calgary, Toronto. The NHL and the Players Association have agreed to postpone cross-border games through 12/23. The NHL revised protocols, but will continue to play the schedule. Basically, they're going to shut down teams on a case-by-case basis, but a league-wide shutdown is the last resort. And I know Grinelli just texted over something from Frank Savelli right now. I'm going to pull that up. Literally just came over the wire. Sources say there has been conversation today about a possible league-wide shutdown effective tomorrow, which will be Tuesday. The situation remains very fluid. No decision yet. There's just 7 games left before Christmas break. So whether they do or they don't, have to get these last few games in. Obviously, COVID's running amok, and but this also got a reaction from players and general managers alike. Nashville's Nick Cousins tweeted, just basically close the season down, like just shut it down till after Christmas. And it's kind of refreshing to hear that from a player. And then Stevie Y, I don't know how much of the clip we want to roll, G, if any. It was pretty long, but all right, throw a little up there. Go ahead.
I don't know what the right thing is. At the end of the day, I think, and now I'm getting political, but at the end of the day, our players are testing positive with very little symptoms, if any symptoms at all. I don't see it as a threat to their health at this point. So I think you might take it a step further and question, why are we even testing for guys that have no symptoms? The players, I think, ultimately they want to play. I don't think, and you probably need to ask them that. You know, guys I've talked to, nobody really has any. None of the players have come to us and said, "Hey, we should shut this down." If they feel that way, they haven't expressed that to us. I think our players have been very positive in that. Just tell us what we need to do, and we'll do it. They've been acceptive of the protocols, whether they like them or not is irrelevant, but they've been willing to do them. I think they just want to play and get through this to the best for all. Nobody wants anybody to get violently ill or deathly ill, anything like that. Guys are willing to do their part. But right now, I guess my perception is they'll do what they have to do. They want to play and get through it.
And you know what? I think Biz, he was just wondering what a lot of people are privately thinking, maybe tweeted about, have been asking themselves that, like, you know, like at what point is this like making sense to people? And I know that asymptomatic people can give it to other people, but if you're only around other vaccinated people in the same circles, it's this convoluted thing. And I know we're all fucking driven crazy with it, but it's Stevie Y doesn't say that without thinking. Go ahead, Whit.
2 weeks to stop the spread. Remember? 2 years ago, just about. 2 weeks to stop the spread. And it's now at the point where what the hell is going on? The league, every single guy in the league, just about. I know Cousins tweeted that You talk to anyone, they're saying, why are we being tested when we don't have symptoms? We're the healthiest individuals in the world. What is the point of testing all these guys every single day when they don't have symptoms? And so many guys are missing games, missing time. The teams are losing because they're missing top players, and they feel completely fine. I just don't. I know everyone is so sick and tired of talking about it, and it's such a political, brutal topic, but this is never going away. It's like, when do we get back to just like a normal life? I don't understand. Like, the guys are saying shut down the league. What do you think? In 2 weeks, this isn't going to be around? It's the winter. People go inside. It's 70 degrees. You go outside. It's -10. Like, it's not going anywhere. And just for us to be able to figure out a way to continue to play games when none of these guys are getting sick and they're all fucking double vaccinated, it's like, what are we doing here?
I think everybody's just frustrated on the inside because of what they have to go through on an everyday basis. Like, we just kind of sit back. Listen, I'm double vax, guys. Like, all these players have followed the rules.
Biz, that's a double Z pack.
Shut the fuck up. I mean, other than one guy, we'll get to the chirp later, but these guys have followed the rules. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they have to jump through all these hula hoops. And I think Yzerman really hit on the head, and he's just kind of as confused as everybody is I think these players just let them fucking play inside their bubble. They have to remain kind of out of the public eye too. Now they're back to the old protocol. So especially now, if not more than ever, let the thing run. Everybody within that little bubble and in the locker rooms who's interacting is I think that has to be double vax. So let's keep the train rolling
and boosted, and they got the boosters.
Yeah. And how many arena workers do that come in that close of contact with? And if those arena workers, you could say, hey, if you don't want to come in, you won't lose your job. Like, like if you're afraid of it, fine. But it's just everybody's vaxxed and masked. It's like,
and I feel so bad for people. Some of you people in Canada, like the fact that like no crowds and half crowds. I feel so sorry for you. You guys out there, moms out there with kids, sons and daughters that you want to take them to an NHL game. These kids are 7, 8, 9 years old. We're coming up on 2 years, and their lives are being fucking ruined and affected so much up there. And it's happening down here, but it's everyone's vaccinated. Everyone's double vax. You got the boosters, and there's more cases than ever. It's like, what the fuck planet are we living on?
Yeah, Canada's.
I'm losing my mind.
Biz, have you felt that since you've been there? Sorry, what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a process to get into Canada to see my family. I think just people overall are just worn out by it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
so when are we going to go back to being like living normal? I'm just having an open conversation.
I think
you guys
masks.
know what I'm saying?
I think
100%
masks.
With me and you are 100% on board with this. I know, we don't always see things eye to eye, but I think on this we're like, yeah, man. Like, I think people know the risks, the drawbacks, whatever. You can get vaccinated, be boosted, wear masks, you can go, but society has to fucking function. This is part of this is the new normal. And like, and also true, it's like these vaccination, like show your vaccine. That's a dog and pony show from what I've seen, regardless of what state or what building I'm going in. Like, if I can show a fucking photocopy of my buddies and no one cares, then why do it? Like, why pretend to do it if you're not going to actually fucking enforce it, which I don't think you should, because at this point, man,
it's a free country.
And it's just fucking like, I know a lot of folks have died, but there are precautions people can take. And if they don't want to partake in those elements of society, they don't have to, or they don't want to work in them, fine. But I think the majority of people are ready to, like, if they're vaccinated and they want to wear a mask or where they need to, like, let's like just function again. Like, we have to function again. And especially like this last variant, I don't know if it was Denmark, some country. It was like 0.06% of people who had this latest variant had to actually go to the hospital. And then there's going to be another variant. And then the fucking next letter of the Greek alphabet, and fucking Omega and fucking Delta. It's like, it's just like the new normal, man. And you can't fucking every single time, especially if they're being weaker. I think we all know the risk of going out. And if you fucking don't want to take it, that's fine. But, it's a fucking globe that's going to keep spinning, and the world has to keep going at some point. And I don't know.
Well, I agree.
Frustrated. All right. Well, we did get a good laugh out of it anyways. Regardless of how you feel about any of this shit and whether you think it's political or not, New Jersey's Mason Geertsen to Tyler Bertuzzi, like these guys chirp each other all the time. It's been written, and I think it's pretty well known that, you know, Tyler Bertuzzi's the only player who has not been vaccinated. And we get no problem with that. That's his decision. We don't judge him one way or the other. But when Geertsen goes, chirp him, go get vaccinated, like people are like, oh, that's weak. I'm like, no, that's kind of funny because he's the only guy. If there were three guys, it wouldn't be as funny. But because he's the only guy and he's calling him out for it, we obviously like Tyler here. We got no problem with it. But that's a good chirp, and we just want to give.
I thought it was worse than the Bruce There It Is song. I thought it was one of the worst chirps ever.
I don't know.
What did you think of it, Biz?
I thought
go get vaccinated. What do you think? Go get a checkup, dude.
Well, because you're the only guy, dude, who didn't. Like the 770 is, and you're the only guy who didn't. Man.
I mean, I feel it's predictable. I'm sure he's heard it before. I think that's probably the best camera angle we've seen it captured on. And I think he proceeded to talk about a minute later.
Two. I think he had two that game, right?
Yeah, he scored a minute after that comment, and I think he had two in the game. So, I guess the only thing that you could chirp him on is the fact that he can't go to Canada and he has to forfeit his salary. But other than that, it seems like they all have to jump through the same hoops. But as I said, guys, I'm double vaxxed. The last thing I'm going to do is spend my time and energy shaming anyone that they're not. I just, this whole situation has kind of left me very perplexed, and that may come as a shock to a lot of you. I can't even pronounce certain words on here. So I'm going to probably tone down my opinion on this whole thing, other than the fact that RA, I agree. And I want to say about a year after COVID originally came out, they said that get used to this. This is the new normal. And we may be wearing masks for a long time. And before the next one is they figured out a booster or how to beat it, there's another one coming out. So I kind of just tend to either focus the energy away from being all down about it and or the people who are really getting fucked by it. Like the small business stuff. You just think about that again. You just hope it doesn't get back to where it was. And I guess that's all
They can't. Yeah. They can't do it in America because they don't have the money to hand out that they did before. Biz, I respect the hell how you just try to always stay positive.
Well, I'm going to be honest. The first time through COVID, and we had to keep continuing our episodes and stuff. I think it was just very difficult on everybody. And I didn't have to worry about, closing a business or worry about where my next paycheck was coming from. So I guess that's just kind of where the energy goes, and just wondering, I don't think that they're going to go back to that place. And I just hope the the suffering stops from a mental health aspect. And I hope that maybe more of that stuff is also used when considering on decisions that are going to end up being made. On the overall,
and it hasn't been so far. It really, I agree with you, and we can 100% end this. I'll say, my one thing, I do not understand and could not disagree more with people who are vaccinated and despise and fucking hate unvaccinated people. You're vaccinated, you're good. You got the boosters, you're all set. Why is it the hatred towards the unvaccinated? It's so bizarre. We can end it now, but it is such a part of life with our job and everyone else's job in life right now that we have to talk about it on a hockey podcast. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. We went off the rails there. Jeez.
Yeah. And that'll put a bow on it. Hey, you know what? At least we still have the World Juniors on track. That's going to start up the day after Christmas. Going to go through January 5th up in Edmonton, and buddy Rick up at Red Deer. And the big news when I was up in Canada last week, Connor Bedard is going to be making the team. That was I love, dude. The Sports Center in Canada is so good. It's like you go from the general manager from one team to the goalie to another. It's like this stuff. It's like, I wish we had it down here so bad, but that was the big news up there. Busy, you getting geared up for the juniors or what?
Well, you just try to shift the focus. If there's no NHL hockey going on, I mean, you got World Juniors to look forward to, and a very special player in Bedard who, Grinnell, I don't know if you have the list of guys who have made Team Canada as a 16-year-old for World Juniors. This guy's going to be wearing a full cage over there. The hype, I know the hype is real. I've seen highlights of this kid. I hope he's able to step up in the first big stage that he's going to have an opportunity to. And Team USA just unveiled their new retro throwback type jerseys. So I think there's a lot of cool storylines going on this one. And of course, the undeniable first overall pick coming out this year in Shane Wright, which will be coming to the Coyotes. And if anyone thinks otherwise, you can lick my big salty nuts. Now, Grinnell, we're going to throw it back.
Let them win. You think they're going to let them win the lottery?
So you can play in a fucking.
By the way, let me try to guess those names. Let me try to guess them. Spezza, you got them in front of you?
Yeah. I didn't know if you want to do all of them.
Who played for Canada World Juniors at 16.
Yep, Spezza's correct.
Bowmeister.
Correct.
McDavid, Crosby.
Correct.
Tavares.
Was it Kalo
No,
Kali
I don't think
Yakupov?
Tavares.
McDavid.
Did
you say McDavid?
He said
I said McDavid. Are we missing somebody back in the day?
Yep.
Gretzky?
Yep. And then one more.
Lemieux.
Nope. One more, and it's not back in the day, but back before my time.
Oh, Lindros.
Yep.
I was going to say Lindros. Christ.
Yeah, Lindros.
I didn't
get.
What list did I look at the other day?
Lindros was crushing everyone in the OHL when he was 16. I guess his games in the OHL were some of the most ridiculous sights you could ever see in a hockey rink. Getting 3 goals, pounding the shit out of the tough guy on the other team, and running the goalie. 16 years old.
Yeah, he was a monster back in the day, no doubt.
I don't know enough about the World Juniors this year. Is Canada the favorite as they usually are?
Well,
just like
USA's
Spengler
coming
Cup.
off a win. USA's coming off an amazing win last year.
But I think
one name to keep an eye on. He was at Hockey Fest in Detroit. Red Savage for Team USA. He was with the boys the whole time. Kid's the man. Red Savage.
Nice.
He was hanging with us that weekend?
Hanging the whole time.
Where does he play?
He came up to me on the street and he's like, "Hey man, I'm Red Savage. I actually got drafted this
That's
past
his
year."
name?
And I'm like, "You stick with us the whole weekend."
that
buddy.
sounds like a 50s gangster on this.
What a name. Red Savage. Does he have red hair?
Savage
No.
Brothers, Mystic River.
Just a huge fire bush
Yeah. Fucking.
coming out of the tunnel, lit on fire.
All right, boys. Before we get to the next big story of the week, if you're buying a home, it can feel like a brawl. If you want to come through the other side with all the teeth in your mouth, you need a team that has your back. That's why Chiclets Nation skates with Cross Country Mortgage. They're dedicated to getting it done with a home buying game plan that makes sure you get that mortgage win. Cross Country Mortgage has a team of loan officers dedicated to getting it done and finding you the best possible loan terms available. They have an average close time of 21 days, which is ridiculously fast. They've got a wide variety of loan types, which means they got everything to cover everyone. Don't risk getting drilled into the boards during the home buying process. Go with Cross Country Mortgage. They have your back and are dedicated to getting it done. So go to crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool so Cross Country Mortgage can take care of you through the home buying process. Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans subject to underwriting approval, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Again, folks, these are good people. Check them out. If you don't end up working with them, you'll be happy that you at least talk to them because they're awesome people. Cross Country Mortgage, by all means, check them out. All right, boys, the other huge story, and this really come out of left field. Winnipeg head coach Paul Maurice abruptly quit. Just stunning news. He stepped down out of nowhere in the middle of his 9th season as Jets coach. He said the team needed a new voice. His quote, "If you allow me some arrogance, I feel I'm better positioned than anyone to know that they need a new voice. They haven't quit on me, but they need somebody that can get them to the next place." He said he also didn't have the same joy going to the rink after the last 2 seasons with the COVID effect. His other quote, "I didn't enjoy it, and that's the very first time I could say I didn't enjoy coming to the rink. If you lose some of that passion for the game, you can still be good, but you can't be as good as you should be. That's how I feel I am. I did a good job here. I'm proud of my work." He leaves the Jets 5 points back of the wild card. The players were said to be stunned. I figured this guy's been fired 3 times as an NHL coach. I think he probably sees cracks in the foundations that leads to players eventually tuning him out, and he knew that might have been next. So he did I think he did this out of love for his players, to realize I'm not the guy to get on the promised land. I thought it was a pretty boss move, and he should be commended for it. Biz, we'll go to you first on this one.
Well, and probably thought he had a team with if they had a big change and a spark that could probably make a deep run to the playoffs. I mean, we talked about it in preseason. I think they have a very, very good team. One of the weaknesses they had was their back end. I thought they addressed it enough where we know that they have a Vezina caliber goalie, and then they have an unbelievable top nine. Has that top nine clicked as much as as it had expected coming in earlier in the season? No, but they still got it. And I think too highly of Paul Maurice to think this is him looking ahead, being like, hey, I'm not going to wait till I get fully tuned out and then can for the fourth time, where now I have more leverage as a guy who walked away, given these other head coaching vacancies and probably the opportunities that will present themselves this offseason. No, I think he just generally did this out of the fact that he probably had just had enough of barking that same message, where these guys are, 9 years, man, with a lot of that core group, and regardless of how much you love a coach, at a certain point that message does seem to fall on deaf ears. And I'm a little disappointed, because I thought this was probably a year where if they didn't make a run or didn't do anything significant, they probably would have parted ways with him. Would you agree with that? That this was probably the year where if they weren't able to get, because every year I felt like it's been a decline to where, if I'm not mistaken, they ran into the year that the Nashville Predators ended up going to the finals against the Pittsburgh Penguins was when they met Winnipeg. And I think that Winnipeg was just as coveted as them going into that series. And those are two of the juggernauts coming out of the West. And ever since then, they've really just never been able to reach that caliber of play. And it's kind of, they've been just left in this purgatory with him. So as much as I love Paul Maurice, I think he's very accurate in the fact that he hasn't been able to get these guys over the edge or really anywhere near it.
I think they went to a Western Conference final against did Vegas beat them to go to the Cup final? Can you look that up quick?
Oh, really? They went to the conference finals?
Yeah. Yeah, they
I'm
lost
wrong.
to Vegas 4-1 in the conference final. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've had some good teams, but it was a master class in basically being a veteran. I think, first of all, his press conference, the guy is so well spoken. I think a lot of people immediately said the media in Winnipeg is really going to miss the guy the most. He gives a quote. He's able to talk to you about a multitude of different subjects, analytics, players. He's very open. And I think that's going to suck for the media members and even fans up there to not get his usual quotes after games. But at the same time, I'm not saying he would have been fired this year, but they're outside the playoffs right now. His seat was probably getting a little warm. And like you mentioned, Biz, all right, I could see this isn't really working anymore. I might be let go when the season ends. I don't know his contract situation. I know he had a couple years left, right?
He had 1 year left after.
Okay, one more. And why don't I just take a step away right now, and then I'm probably the most wanted coach on the market when the season ends. A guy could have a job in a second, right? But he was. I do believe it wasn't that. It was more. I'm being honest with myself, and I can tell we really are kind of stagnant. And if you talk to fans that were maybe not haters of his, but would pick apart things they didn't like, I think people wanted to see Ehlers play a lot more. Since Maurice has gone the 2 games, he's got 1 goal, 4 assists. He's a dynamic game breaker. And then at the same time, Scheifele averages 2 minutes more of 5-on-5 ice time a game, which is a lot, right? On just 5-on-5 than Pierre-Luc Dubois. And Dubois has been better than him this year. So a little bit change in ice time probably. And we'll see what happens. But he did a hell of a job. Connor, Ehlers, Wheeler, Scheifele, all these guys, were younger players when he started coaching them. And the team has had some success, but was never able to get to that Cup final.
There's some negativity online. Do you view it as quitting on your team? This was his team. He's been there 9 years. He's been with this core group, right? So now all of a sudden things are getting a little bit difficult. How do you view it from that sense, Whit? Are you shocked that a guy as reputable as Maurice wouldn't have tried to at least solve the puzzle? You still got the great team.
A little bit, but not really. Actually, when I think about it, he knows. I think his arrogance is what he said. I know more than anyone that this team needs a new voice. And I'll say this: I don't know if there's ever been a coach in pro sports that, if after 9 years he decided to quit, that the core guys wouldn't be like, all right, fine, let's get somebody else in here. I'm not saying that the big dogs and all the players in Winnipeg didn't really like him, but I think it'd be a little naive to think that they're not like, all right, yeah, we've kind of had enough. 9 years, the same coach. I understand that some people are great at their job, but in the end, these athletes at some point they tune you out a little bit. I don't care who you are. Yeah. So we'll see how they respond. But Lowry, interestingly enough, coaching his son, who's on the team, Adam. Yep. And somebody said the last time that happened was Kevin Dineen's dad coached him on the Flyers, maybe? Was Bill Dineen a coach of the Flyers, RA? But that's a long time to have a.
Yeah, that's a way back. Yeah,
I will say though that I have heard quite a bit, and I don't watch this team enough. I'm not completely dialed in, but they say that he does favor the veterans. He's less likely to give the younger guys more ice time, and sometimes if you've had guys for so long, your vision of them can be a little bit jaded, especially when things aren't going so well with productivity on the ice. And yeah, I'll go back to my original statement. I commend the guy for having the balls to be able to walk away. I was just curious to know your thoughts on the quote unquote quitting comments. I think that they're a little bit absurd. I was just interested to hear what you had to say. And I guess overall, let's see what this core group can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fresh set of eyes, and we've seen what that's done in Vancouver already. I mean, they've rattled off 6 in a row under Bruce, Jesus. And we'll see how long it lasts. But just guys guys you talk about in the doghouse, like all of a sudden a new coach comes in, and this guy's going to get more playing time. He's going to get more power play time, and we're seeing the effects of that. So, we got to give props to Maurice. 1,684 games is the 4th most in NHL history after Bowman, Quenneville, and Trotz. Like you said, Dave Lowry's going to take over on an interim basis for the rest of the season. The team's going to look for a new coach this summer. Lowry will be an option. Obviously, he's going to get a little bit of a tryout now. So, yeah, I don't think he's a quitter, man. I think he knew that this team – I think he respects these guys so much, Paul, that he knows that they need somebody else right now, and that's why he's handing off the baton.
I'll say this, though, hot seat core group. Can't blame the coach anymore.
They're like, oh, shit.
Oh, son of a beast thing.
Slow start next year. He could have got canned. We would have got that little extra leeway. Now it's all on us.
Bingo.
Let's see. Moving right along. Pretty cool moment on Sunday. Robin Lehner, friend of the show, he returned to Long Island, and he was only there for 1 year, but he did talk about his 1 year there and how it meant so much to him. That's where he was getting sober, and he was dealing with his mental health issues. And he said, I'll say it again. The Islanders fan base saved my life. They have a special place in my heart, in my family's heart. He showed the Long Island tattoo on his neck that he told us about in the show. And then what was really cool, he shaved his beard because, Lou doesn't allow facial hair. So in a nod to Lou Lamoriello, he took his beard off, which, it's a pretty big sign of respect for a guy to do that. Then, of course, he gets the win on the shootout. Vegas ends up going 4-0 on the roadie. Max Pacioretty, hot as hell. He had a 7-game goal streak. Him, Stone, and Stevenson combined for 43 points in the first 9 games. Max got back on the lineup. But then Lehner also got in the mix. You seen that little scrap with New Jersey. He got involved in the dust up too. But it was great to see that highlight video of him, Biz. He's a unique character in the NHL, and he told us how much New York meant to him. And listen, other people I think they confuse you with me. People like RA shits on Islanders fans. I never shit on Islanders fans.
Oh, you were giving it to him during the playoffs, dude.
Well, that was
giving it to him.
During a series, you give it to him
you just said I don't give it to the Islanders fan. You were giving it to him for 2 straight weeks.
I don't call them scumbags. You call them scumbags.
I think you said scumbag at Hurricanes, but you were buckled, so we won't hold it against you.
All right.
I think the moment was amazing, and it's funny because I've never in my life used the word endearing when talking about somebody pointing to their neck tat, but it was endearing, right? I mean, it was an amazing job that whoever did that did of Strong Island. And after we talked to him and you realize how open he is with what he's been through and what his life's been like, you see the true passion when he talks about Long Island and like that area and that team saving him as a person and a player. So I was so happy for him. It was a great story. I can't believe I didn't bet him. Of course he's going to win when he goes back there and shaves the beard out of respect to Lou. Funny Twitter post with the hair in the sink. And that's also a guy that's on my mind right now because of what he mentioned and him being like, that is not good for me, being in the bubble and all that with what's going on. So I'm thinking of a guy like that who's been through a lot. You got to see him show his respects to a place that really kind of made him who he is now, he says.
Well said, my man. And I mentioned this to Biz last night. Like, Lehner was a guy, not that he was ever a journeyman. He was a backup a few times, but there've been so many guys this year who have stepped up. They've been backup goaltenders, number 2 guys, minor league guys, out in St. Louis, 2 guys alone. Charlie Lindgren, St. Louis, 5-0 with a 1.22 goals against, 9.58 save percentage. He only had 24 NHL starts before the season. John Gillies was drafted 3rd round of 2012 draft. He started 1 game for St. Louis, played great. Then he gets traded to New Jersey for future consideration. Starts for them Sunday. Like, we've never seen backup goalies and have this much value before, where they're getting traded. I mean, Malcolm Subban gets traded to Buffalo, has one of the most amazing fucking saves of the season with that crazy wraparound behind his fucking back save. You guys seen that? I don't like. I think it's cool, Biz, that all these guys who COVID sucks, right? We've fucking done talking about it. But if there's a silver lining, it's all these guys getting these opportunities and grabbing them by the balls. Like Zach Fucale, 1 start for Washington earlier this year, his only start ever, and it's a shutout in the NHL. If that's all he ever does, man, he can hang his hat on that forever. So I don't know. I
also believe the parity and the parity in goaltending and the quality of goaltending overall has just severely improved now. So when you have a guy drop, you're just getting these AHL guys that are coming up where they're just as good as the next guy in line, in my opinion. I think that's the most improvement we've seen in a position, maybe in all of sports over the last 10 to 15 years. We've had goalie coaches on who have talked about it, and just the fact that they've finally gotten coaches even at the NHL level, where looking back 15 years, like half the teams maybe didn't even have goalie coaches. So specifically goalies, RA, but I agree with you. Some unbelievable storylines. Even the guy in Dallas, is it Ottinger?
Yeah. I mean, I think he was more of a
less of a journeyman, but a guy who's had the opportunity now with injuries and in this situation can come and play. Yeah.
But I sent the clip to the group Sunday night. Garrett Sparks. I mean, he played for Toronto a couple of years ago, was never able to grab that number 1 job, and he gets called up because of all this shit. And I sent the presser to you. It was a 4-minute clip. It was very emotional. I mean, he wasn't sobbing and crying or anything, but you could tell how much this moment meant to him. And the last minute, he just says, man, I was out there and I got to shut down the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game and be part of this. And it was like how do you not get goosebumps watching that?
That was amazing.
We're
he
getting
played
all these
for Canada World Juniors too, didn't he, Biz?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So he's had that means he was somebody at one point. It was like, this is a future starter in the NHL. So he's been through so much. I saw that interview as well. I didn't mean to ut you off. Sorry, it was great. No,
actually, I want to play a snippet of it here because it was really worth listening to.
Maybe you make after this? My family, I've had to retool everything that I do. I just had to get my life back. It's more than just hockey. Just a lot of work. It's worth it though. It was worth it. I don't know. I suffered a pretty bad concussion in Toronto in practice, and I was having a really good season, and I kind of derailed my season there, and the wheels just fell off for a little bit, and you got to start from the ground up and work your way back. I started in the East Coast League this time last year. I was making $600 a week. I was having a good time. Just enjoying playing hockey. It was just crazy to be on NHL ice again and playing against the greatest goal scorer of all time and having an answer. So it was cool.
Boom. So you hear the emotion in his voice, and getting to shut down Ovi is a little bit of in 40 years when he's sitting at the bar with his boys, let's throw that save on. Pull up again.
Buy me another shot, Pink Whitney. But also
Glory Days is playing in the background.
Like Biz, when I see these guys grinding like this, I mean, I could see a number 1 job for one of these guys opening up at some point. You look at Tim Thomas is the best example. He didn't become a starter until he was 31 years old, basically. latched on with the Bruins, ends up winning a Conn Smythe. And, even in recent years, James Reimer was somewhat of a journeyman. He's become a starter since then. Jack Campbell up in Toronto, Craig Anderson. Like, these guys bounced around, and then late in their career, they become starters. So I love this fucking type of story, man.
And I mean, that's something I didn't even mention when I was rifling off about all these goaltenders and the overall quality rising is these guys, most of the time they're on entry levels from the age of, let's say, 18 to 21, or maybe they're college kids, so a little bit older. Goaltenders they're just late to developing. They take that extra, 3, 4, 5 years. Sometimes they don't even come into the best goaltending until they're 30, 32 years old. So yeah, I guess I am surprised by it, but no, especially the fact that they are late to developing, RA.
Yeah. And, and I think it's probably the position that's easiest to lose your confidence and really fall off a cliff with as well. So
buddy, I've talked about it all the time. I played with Jack Campbell. He was a first-round draft pick to the Dallas Stars, and he ended up coming over to the Ontario Reign and had to build up that mental game. The mental portion for the tendies is the biggest element. So, yeah, I completely agree, Ari.
Well, we're talking about bringing guys up, journeymen that help the team and guys who you might not be familiar with. So I think it's a perfect time to bring on Nathan Walker. St. Louis Blue was called up last week. Next day, gets a hat trick for the Blues. Of course, he's the first Australian in the NHL, first Australian drafted. Basically, every time an Australian does something for the first time, it's him. We do want to let you know that this interview is brought to you by NHTSA. It's the holiday season, gang. You're hanging out with some friends. You're putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to a close, people start to head out. You think of calling a ride. You live nearby. You can make it home. Okay, it's no big deal. What are the odds you get pulled over anyways? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up. You lose your license. You lose your job. You total your car. You kill someone. Everyone knows the risk of driving drunk. It's fucking stupid. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out right now protecting our roads from impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. It's just not worth it. Play it safe, plan ahead, get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. For more information about Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign, visit www.nhtsa.gov/drive sober. Folks, I know it's that time of year. There's some extra cheer in the air, but please make good decisions and look out for those who might not be able to make them for themselves. One little goofy night can screw everything up. So be safe out there. And without further ado, we're going to have some fun with our Australian mate, Nathan Walker. Well, it's a pleasure to welcome our next guest. This player left his home in Australia at just 13 years old to move to the Czech Republic to chase his hockey dreams. And he became the first Australian ever drafted by an NHL team and the first to play in the NHL. In 2018, he became the first Aussie to win a Stanley Cup when the Capitals won it all. And currently a member of the St. Louis Blues, he recently scored a hat trick the day after the team recalled him. Yes, another Aussie first. Thanks a bunch for joining us on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Nathan Walker. How's it going, Nathan?
I'm good, thanks. That was a sick intro.
Got to get a tire pump for you, though,
He wrote that one on the ride home from Sudbury recently, so he put a lot of effort into it. I knew he crushed that one. Speaking of crushing it, buddy, I mean, what an amazing story the other night. You get recalled, you get a hat trick in the game, and the last goal was like a tip. Everyone wasn't really sure right away, but take me through your emotions, not only after the game, but before, and just looking forward to just trying to prove yourself and play well.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I mean, obviously with all the injuries and the COVID things that were kind of going on here, they just gave me a call and called me up. And obviously whenever you get called up, you want to try to do the right things and play the right way and everything. And, things just kind of happened the right way for me that game.
Even had the owner stop by after the game to give you props, huh?
Yeah, that was cool. I saw him coming down. I was like, oh boy. But no, it was good. He had some nice words. That was nice.
You're used to the big moments because going back to that Stanley Cup victory, you get one game and it's in the finals and you end up getting a point. So even though maybe you weren't there the entire season and you feel like maybe you hadn't contributed as much, you kind of feel just as much a part of it because in that moment you were able to help contribute.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, all those guys on that team that year were incredible. Like, the way that they would make you feel and be a part of the team when, like you said, I wasn't there the whole year. they were so good to me, and I'll cherish that for the rest of my life. But yeah, I mean, those big games, I fucking love it. Like getting up for those games, it's so easy to get up and get ready for those type of ones.
And being born in Cardiff, it kind of got you ready to be able to drink with TJ Oshie.
True. Yeah, true. I got to keep up with my old man too.
Now, obviously, the Australia factor is a huge part of your story, Nathan. Let's dial back to the beginning. How old were you when you first started skating? How do you get into hockey in a country where it's really not popular at all?
It's kind of funny. Like one day, my brother and I just went to a rink and we saw a D-League drop-in league, and we just were kind of like taken back by it. And like, wow, this is kind of pretty sick. Let's give it a go. So next week we joined and we started playing, and I think I started playing ice when I was like 5 or 6 or so. And then, my brother and I just both loved it from there.
Was there like a full team for you guys to have in terms of like players and stuff, or was there only a few of you? Like how many kids actually your age at the time were playing?
There was actually a pretty decent amount. We had a pretty decent league. There would have been maybe like 6 teams or so around the Sydney area. Yeah. But yeah, as I started to get a little older, I was playing peewees, bantams, midgets. We were only practicing like once a week, which kind of sucked, but it got to a point where I was like, I want more. Like I'm playing 3 games a weekend and I'm skating once a week in practice, but I just want more. And then, from there, that's when I went over to Czech Republic and played.
Were you able to consume it from like a watching NHL games perspective? Like what were you seeing from a hockey content perspective?
We actually played an inline tournament in Toronto one year. My brother was playing from Team Australia, and I just went over to watch him. And we went to the Hockey Hall of Fame and grabbed up a couple of VCRs. And I think that one of them was Wayne Gretzky, the great one, and the next ones. So we would come home and plug that thing in, and you got guys like Paul Kariya, Mike Madonna, like Yogs, all these sick players that are playing, and we would throw that in every day, and just that's what we would watch every day, and we just wanted to play hockey like so fucking bad.
That is nuts. And then your father, I'm guessing, never played, so had no really opinions on the games or what to tell you, or was he a little in the mix in terms of like, hey, just try hard out there, Nathan? Yeah,
well, he was a rugby player when he was younger, so he was all about the rugby, and I played that up until I was about 15 as well. He'll probably never admit it, but he was a little heartbroken, I think, when I chose hockey over rugby.
Yeah.
But no, he understands the game a lot more now. Obviously, when we're younger, you just go there with a little flask of whiskey, keep himself nice and warm. But that was probably it.
Did you ever get homesick, like moving away at such a young age, and like given that not a lot of people where you're at could speak the language, well, your language?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, the first few years are really hard. Obviously, calling the family every now and then, and chatting about kind of what was going on there, and obviously not being able to speak the language, and no one being able to speak English too well. It was really tough. But at the end of the day, I was there for hockey, and that just kind of kept me going through it, and pushed me through those shitty times for sure.
And when you decide to go to Czech, and at 13, 14, whatever that age was, what made it be there? Like what about somewhere in Canada or US or even another European country? Like what was the connection in Czech?
There was we had a couple of Slovakian coaches back home in Sydney, and one day they just came, I know, crazy, but they just came up to me and said, listen, if you want to play hockey at some point, like you got to get out of Australia now and go overseas. And then, we discussed it, and they were like, listen, we can get you tryouts at the Vitkovice team, and we'll kind of go from there and see how we go. And that was the first step. And then it kind of just stuck, and I went over there.
So without those coaches, there's a possibility that you're never going anywhere, right? Like those people truly affected you by at least getting you in the mix.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I'll cherish those guys until the day I die. Like that was obviously at 13 to kind of move away and do that was tough. But I think if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have done it. Or I would have done it and it would have been too late. I would have come over maybe 15, 16. And by then I've missed out on those years to really develop and kind of get a knack for the game.
So you had a billet family over there and you guys couldn't even speak the same language, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, the first year. So what happened was we would get, so the owner of the team, I believe, or the GM of the big team would give me like these little tokens for restaurants. So I would grab these tokens, like go down to the restaurants and eat food and everything. Didn't know what the menu said. I had no idea what the menu said. So I would just go there and go, you know what? Bingo, I'm picking this. This is what I'm eating tonight.
This is a young age to be doing this too. You're an old soul.
Insane. So I picked this first thing. And this is when like Google Translate, like smartphones weren't like that popular then. Like it was, the Nokias were kind of still floating around, like they were dying down, everything like that. Or maybe I just got on the.
What was that? The Paris Hilton one, the flip phone, the Sidekick.
I did have a flip phone.
I had.
You had the Sidekick lit.
Pathetic.
But I couldn't. For some reason, I couldn't get on Google Translate or whatever. So I just picked this thing, and it was fried liver, and which I didn't know. And I take one bite of this thing and nearly puked. It was absolutely disgusting. So every time I go down there, I'd get these tokens again. And I go down, and then the lady slowly figured out that I was working there, that I didn't speak any Czech. So she would help me, and she would like pick food for me and tell me this is good. So next thing you know, like all these good foods are coming out. But with the Billet family, they would be pissed because sometimes they would cook dinner for me, but I wouldn't know that they would have dinner because we didn't speak to each other because we couldn't. So I would like they'd be picking their kids up from practice, and I'd be in the restaurant having dinner. And they'd be looking at me like, what are you doing? There's food at home for you. Like, you don't have to be going to the restaurant every day. But we had eventually got to a point where we could do some hand signals and like, you know, the eating and everything like this, eating tonight, you know, all the wristwatch signals and shit. But it was good.
Was it even harder competing against men for the first time? Because weren't you 13 over there playing against like 20-year-olds?
The first year I was playing in like Bantam, so I was a couple years older. And then I think when I was 15, I was playing against the 20-year-olds. I think I was playing juniors when I was 15 or 16, I think, yeah. But that it was tough. Yeah, that was good though. I think I needed that. Obviously playing when I was 13, playing 18-year-olds back home was good, but it's not, you know, it's not the same as playing over in Czech, like the same age kind of guys.
And Czech isn't necessarily like a country like Sweden where they all speak English. So was there at least a couple guys on the team that could, or were you really not even talking to the coaches or the teammates?
Yeah, the coaches from my team were super old school, so they didn't speak a lick of English. Once I got to juniors, the coach there he would go online and try to learn how to speak English and come and try and have a chat with me, and that was great. Like that was kind of showed that he cared a little bit, which was cool. But there was actually one coach coaching in the organization who coached the Australian youth team, which is just crazy. And he played actually in the Australian league as well.
No way.
So it was just like a full circle. It was kind of nuts, but he helped me out a bunch too. And then, like I said, as I kind of got older, I learned how to speak Czech, and then the kids are obviously learning how to speak English in school, so we could get by a little bit through that.
So you said your coaches in Czech were a little old school when you first got there. Like, would they be like screaming at you in Czech and you'd just be like stand there with a blank stare, not having a clue what they were saying?
Oh yeah, like the first couple of weeks, like they'd be like looking at me trying to tell me to skate, and they'd just be like saying something. I would just be like, I don't know, man. Like I got no clue. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do everything I can. I don't know what you're telling me. And then like some of the younger guys would come up and be like, skate. I'd be like, all right, skate. All right, gotcha.
There she goes.
Just get me back to that restaurant. I'd rather have the fried liver than be getting screamed at in Czech right now by this guy.
How old were you when you started living by yourself over there?
14, 15,
Holy
yeah.
shit. Really? Like
yeah,
no supervision at all?
We had it was kind of like a dorm setup. So there was a few of us kind of living at the same place. So yeah, there was a bit of supervision, but it wasn't like super strict rules or anything like that. Like obviously we'd go on road trips and be coming back pretty late and all that kind of shit, but it wasn't like super strict or nothing.
What was NHL always the goal? Like at that point in time, were you making that move at 13 because you're like, I'm NHL, I'm gonna make it there. I'm gonna find a way to get there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was definitely the end goal. But I think before that would have happened, you know, there's definitely a lot of things that I kind of like needed to tick off in order to try and get there. But that was the first step. I think taking that leap to go over there and start playing hockey was definitely the first step towards that. Then
you were, I believe you were passed over in 2 drafts, and then you were finally drafted by Washington in 2014. So were you getting discouraged at all when you were passed over in the draft? Like, you know, what were you thinking about then?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, when you don't get drafted, you think you might have a shot. It's, yeah, like you said, you get a bit discouraged, but at the same time, it it kind of lights that fire as well. Like you're thinking, well, fuck, now I really want to prove you wrong for not taking me. And then the next year goes by and it doesn't happen again. And you think, well, fuck. All right, one more shot. Yeah,
another fucking fire.
364 more days.
I'm running out of wood here. Get the gas. Get
put
the
some more
gas.
kindling on it, shit. But no, that was good. And then eventually I went to Wash's camp and had a good camp. And then they actually signed me to an A deal with Hershey and drafted me from there.
Yeah, you actually played pro before you got drafted, right? In Hershey?
Yeah.
It's kind of unusual for it to go that way.
A little different steps for sure.
And a great organization to go to as far as AHL, like their way that they've been so consistent about like the way they treat their players and the resources that they spend into the players in order for them to develop. Like who were your coaches there, and like who had the biggest impact on you as soon as you got there?
Yeah, like you said, they had great resources and they were all about winning and developing. The coach that stood out for the most there was probably Troy Mann when we first got in there. We had a really young team the one year, and we went to finals that year actually, which was, that whole experience was sweet. And then, like you said, the whole organization from top to bottom was, tip top shape.
I'm curious. So you played in the USHL after Czech, and then you went pro. So were you able to go to college and you chose not to, or was because of where you played in Czech, you lose your eligibility? What was the whole situation and maybe not going to play college hockey?
I think because I did play pro in Czech, I wasn't allowed to go to college.
Okay.
I wasn't 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty confident. But yeah, I mean, I would have enjoyed going to college. I think that would have been good for kind of the style I like to play. And obviously talking to guys about how college was, they loved it. They said the hockey was sweet. So that would have been cool. But yeah, I believe because I played pro in Czech that I wasn't eligible for it.
Because the USHL to pro hockey, that's a big jump. There's actually a goalie, Schmid, the other day, I think, that played for the Devils, and he played in the USHL last year, which is nuts. But for you, was it really difficult? Because the AHL is a great league, and that age going from the USHL to there must have been a little overwhelming at the start.
Yeah, for sure. I think what helped me a lot was playing pro in Czech, kind of being around like those older guys too, like those old school kind of players as well. And then going to the USHL, I guess, was almost like taking 2 steps back to, try to take 3 steps forward, I guess. But it was good. Like, I'm so glad that I made that move. It was kind of getting a bit stale for me in Czech at the time.
Were you always going back to Australia in the summer times?
Yeah, I always go back. Yeah, always go home.
So what were you doing in the summertime? Were you surfing? Is that a bit of a cliche? It's like not all Australian surf, or? Yeah.
I mean, I used to be able to surf, not anymore. With the little ones, kind of hard to get out. But no, we were on lockdown actually last year, which sucked. So we could do some things, but not obviously everything. But yeah, every summer it's sick going home. Like the weather's pretty nice. It's winter time, but it's like 20 degrees, golfing weather. It's unreal.
The start of the 2017-2018 season, Nathan, you waved by Washington, claimed by Edmonton, waved by Edmonton, claimed by Washington. Were you getting frustrated at all? Were you trying to just find your spot? What was that experience like before you kind of finally settled in with Washington?
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, you get picked up by a team, you think, it's the start of something new, and then it doesn't just quite work out. So you go back to the organization that had you. And yeah, that was tough. I mean, I ended up selling my car in Washington and then needed one for fucking 3 weeks later. But no, that was a good experience. I mean, getting to see McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys was that was cool to share the ice with them for sure.
That's about as much ice as I got with Malkin and Sid. Just a quick cup of coffee, eh, Nathan? Hey, you get to tell everybody back home you play with 2 of the greatest players in the world at that period of time, man. It's the best.
Exactly. In one season too. It was nuts.
Oh man.
Who'd you score your first goal on? Which goalie?
I think it might have been Al Montoya. I know it was against the Canadians. I don't think Price was in net, but I'm not sure.
Oh my God! I could tell you every player that was on. I could tell you every person that was in the stands. That's how memorable it was for me. But you don't even care. Just say, watered off a duck's back.
Mine came off my ass. I didn't know if it was mine until halfway through the third.
This counts as first goal in warm-ups, like where the goalie wasn't even looking. So you're ahead of the game in terms of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh man, I know. Oh, go ahead. All right.
I was gonna say, what was your experience like playing for Barry Trotz? He seems like a guy a lot of guys love to play for.
Yeah, he's great. He was really good to me in my time. He taught me a lot of things. Obviously, every team he coaches is, great defensively, and I think that really helped me kind of tune out my game a bit more and, be a bit more responsible with the puck and things like that. And I really enjoyed playing for him. I thought he was a great coach.
In Australia, is rugby kind of like what hockey is in Canada? Every kid plays rugby. That's the most popular sport.
Yeah, pretty much. Like rugby, soccer, they're probably the two big ones.
What about cricket?
Cricket's big. That's in the summertime, so I'm never really around when that's kind of going on. So I don't really see that. But cricket is huge too. Cricket's big. But yeah, when I'm home, it's usually rugby and soccer. Like you see every field on the weekends packed.
If somebody was like, I'd love to go over there at some point, Australia, New Zealand. What would you say, like the kind of amount of time you need to spend over there? Like, can you go for 10 days? Or are you saying you got to go for longer?
It depends. Like if you can kind of time that flight, right, where you get a good sleep and you're not too jet lagged and don't feel too shitty, then you're pretty good. Like 10 days would be good. And it depends what you want to do. Like Australia's big. It's as big as the US. So if you want to go like to the West Coast too.
Is
like,
it really?
Yeah. Perth? Is that where Perth is?
Yeah, that's where Perth is. Yeah. It's like a 4 or 5 hour flight from Sydney.
Holy shit. I thought Australia was like the size of like New England. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no, it's huge. Yeah.
That's
funny. A lot of people actually think that. That's funny.
So have you been to Perth?
I have. Yeah. We've had a bunch of hockey tournaments there. Yeah.
What's it like there? It seems like magical. I think Bon Iver wrote a song about it. So I was like, I always want to go there. That's like on the bucket list.
I like it. They got good beaches. I haven't been there for a few years, so I wouldn't kind of know what the nightlife's like, but it's, I'm sure it's pretty good. Like it's nice.
But in the middle of the country, it's all desert and outback, correct? Like there's nothing much going on in the interior.
You gotta close to a death wish if you're going there. You gotta be pretty prepared for everything.
Like, what do you mean? Like, even if you stop at a hotel on the highway kind of thing? Like, what do you mean?
You might have to check your toilet for snakes and spiders, check your boots and stuff.
Yeah, they just thought there was just like serial killers like hanging out at like the rest stops and stuff.
Yeah. Well, there is actually a true story.
I'm more worried about the hookers here, Nathan. Just kidding. Tough crowd. No, but like, I don't think everyone is used to like having like, maybe the middle of their country be like very, very dangerous. Have you ever had any run-ins with anything like snakes or scorpions and things like that?
No, I've never been to the middle of Australia. I really want to go. We got to think about Uluru. Like it's like this massive rock that's in the middle of Australia. That's pretty popular for tourist stuff. But
just go do like peyote and shit and get fucked up or what?
Good, hey, just a big rock in the middle of the country. But, no, I would love to go and kind of.
I guarantee there's a lot of drugs involved, Nathan. It's kind of like Joshua Tree here, just an excuse to go do drugs and look at weird shit.
But yeah, maybe one day I'll take a trip to the middle of Australia. But I just kind of hang out on the coast.
But you don't have to go to the outback to find those crazy animals. I mean, they're all over the place down there, right? Like brown snakes, one of the most poisonous snakes in the world. You can find them anywhere, right?
Yeah, we actually kind of live like in the national park, so we like put like back onto the bushland, and it's crazy. Like you'll hear snakes, like people seeing snakes all the time, kind of stuff like that. But we got my family house has 3 cats, so they kind of take care of business, which is nice for us.
There you go.
Yeah,
you mentioned how Australia was so locked down. You see some crazy stories coming from the news and stuff. A lot of people upset with what's going on. Like, are you staying informed in terms of like buddies you're talking to being pissed off and upset with the government?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think it's as bad as the videos kind of make it out to seem.
Shocker.
Yeah, like one of our friends actually sent my wife and I a video and said, "Oh my God, this is crazy," but it's not that bad. There's obviously, you can see both sides of things, but it was locked down, but it wasn't super crazy. Like we could still golf. We could still grab some food from like cafes and stuff. We just couldn't really sit down at restaurants and go to bars. Like that was pretty much it.
Okay.
What do you miss most about Australia when you're playing in the States?
Oh, probably the brekkie food. The brekkie food back home in the cafes is just so good.
Like, what is it?
What is it? Yeah, what's the brekkie consist of?
It's legit the same. It's the same food as here, but it's just different. I don't know what it is. Like we don't have streaky bacon back home either. We got like nice like round cut bacon, which goes perfect on some avocado toast. It's unreal.
Oh my God. Oh, avocado toast is just becoming popular in Australia. That's good to know.
No, but it's we've
Did Dumb and Dumber just come out?
Trust me. They're actually ahead like 20 hours. So we've been ahead of the game.
That's true. You guys are the other one.
You know what's unreal back home is the coffee.
Oh, buddy. I went there and that's far and above the best thing going on.
The coffee is like my first couple of weeks when I'm back, it's probably 4 or 5 coffees a day. Just getting a latte, a cappuccino, a flat white, a long black, short black, fuck, anything.
So when you drink the stuff over here, you're like, this is junk. You just want to throw it.
Yeah, it's tough. But I mean, you come adapted to it, right?
How bad is Foster's Australian for beer?
You know what? I've never tried it, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's such a stereotypical thing, like Foster's Australian for beer. That's whatever.
Outback Steakhouse has got to be pretty legit, dude. They got some deadly animals running around those bars.
That place is all right. We got like our own little steakhouse and stuff near where we are, which are fucking dialed in too.
Do opponents ever chirp you about Australia? Anything to do with your homeland?
No, when I've been
yelling, don't know anything about it.
RA's trying to get somebody sussied.
People just say, "What the hell did you just say?" Because obviously my accent comes out when I'm mad, I guess. But I didn't know. My first couple of years, I was a few chirps, but that was kind of it. Now guys just ask me questions about it, which is kind of cool. I like explaining it.
According to your Instagram, did you build your own house this off season, or have a hand in it?
Oh, in that little shed out the back. Shed out the back.
Oh, it's the shed.
So during when we were locked out, we couldn't go to gyms. So my old man and I just decided, you know what, fuck it, let's just build a shed. So I've turned that into a full gym now, which is unreal. So I get to spend a bit more time with the family, and it's the best thing is it's at my in-laws' place too. So I knocked down all their trees, they fucked up their backyard, and put a big gym in the back.
You're like, my yard still looks great.
So that's great. So I go work out. Wife takes a little one over there, so everyone's happy. Well, it's all good, worked out. But it's a full-size gym, which is unreal.
I was going to ask you about the little one. You guys had a gender reveal. You ended up doing the old slap shot.
We did, yeah. We had to do that. We had a bunch of buddies back home that said we had to do it, but we decided to do it on the beach, so we kind of mixed it up a little bit that way.
So you had no clue going in?
No, I didn't have an idea. I had no clue.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually there's probably be a lot of news to people that are listening back home with this too, but we're actually having another one coming up.
Whoa, so, congratulations. Buddy. Good news.
We don't know the gender of that one. I don't know what we're going to do for that one, but
when's the baby due?
Should be, I think, end of May, like mid to end May.
Oh, wow. So it depends. Maybe you'd still be here. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where we're at there. And,
good for you.
In the playoff race for that.
Nathan, after you became the first Aussie to win the Stanley Cup, did you hear from any famous Aussie actors or actresses or anyone?
No, I didn't actually. There might have been a few people reach out. I mean, it was a while ago, but there was a few rugby players actually when I went home, went out for dinner with a few of those guys and got to spend some time with them. So that was pretty cool.
Since you have one, has there been an uptick in Australian kids playing hockey? Have there been more rinks? Has there been a noticeable increase?
I think so. The hockey shop that kind of runs things back home have done a really good job, like bringing in new gear and everything over the last like 5-10 years or so. But before that, we didn't really have much going on in regards to gear. It was kind of tough. Like people would be bringing gear in from obviously Canada and the States because it's a lot cheaper. So they've kind of done a good job bringing all the gear in. And I think there's been more kids join. I've definitely had parents kind of reach out to me saying that their kids got into hockey because of me and all this kind of stuff, which is great to hear. So that's awesome. I would like to say that, more kids have kind of gotten into it, which is cool.
Good.
Well, mine was going to piggyback RA's. Do you feel like maybe a little bit of added responsibility as basically being like the Wayne Gretzky of Australia? Are you on Bill? You got to be on Bilbo, or you won a Stanley Cup. Like you got to be on billboards, no, all this stuff over there?
Yeah, no, actually not, which is kind of, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of nice because I can go out to a pub and have a couple of drinks and not have to answer any questions, which is nice. But once I kind of walk into a hockey rink, then it's, it's kind of game over. Like everyone kind of knows then. But outside of the rinks back home, it's no one has a clue.
What about I know you mentioned like playing a little golf. Are you big into it? Or I only ask because I'm a junkie for it, and Australia is my dream place to go on a golf trip. It looks like the Gold Coast, everything, all those courses must be so amazing.
Yeah, they've. I kind of just play the one that's close to me. It's a little public course, but I've played. I played a course. I want to say it was designed by Greg Norman up north, place called Hamilton Island. This whole island's the course, and it's unreal. Sick. Like it's right on the coast. Yeah, it's so sick. But I'm pretty into golf. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I'm good, but no, I love playing it. It's fun getting out there with the fellas too.
All right, I guess we got to ask him about the Blues, right? I mean, what's your first impression of Berube? Is that probably the most intense coach you've ever played for?
Oh, dude, the first time I heard him talk was a couple of years ago for a preseason game. As soon as he said a couple of words, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go for a wall for this guy. Like, this guy's nuts. I'm fucking ready to do whatever it takes. But he's a great coach. Like, whenever he talks, the whole room listens. Like, he's intense, but he's intense with a purpose, and it's I fucking love it. I think it's unreal.
You're in your third year with the organization, signed through next year, but last season was pretty tough on you with the COVID situation. Obviously, coming from Australia, you had to leave your wife and your baby back home. But you said the organization was really great. They really helped you out through some trying times last year.
Yeah, it was tough, and I mean, I don't think just the organization, but all the players too. They could all relate. They all had kids, and they'd always be checking in on me. Like all the older guys would always check in, and everyone on this team's unreal in regards to that. They always make sure that the younger guys or the guys that got called up kind of have everything they need. And if we ever did need anything, we all know that we could call them and they'd kind of help us out with anything like that.
In talking to the guys that, have been there all year with the Blues, I think just 2 points out of first place in the division. Like, are they talking about how good Binnington's been, or is the whole group just really confident as a whole in terms of everyone knows their job? That's why the season's been going so well.
Yeah, I think everyone knows what they got to do for us in order to be successful. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of guys out now. Ben has been out for a while due to the protocols or whatever. But we've been winning and we've been finding ways to win. And I think guys just kind of know what it takes, to get to that next level and get the 2 points every night. And guys know what they got to do.
Were you laughing when Bert gave you the fake out on the game puck when you scored the hat trick?
Yeah, he said a couple honorable mentions, said my name. I was like, well, fuck, that's all right. I'm whatever. It doesn't bother me. But no, he came back to me. You're
like, you motherfucker. I just got a hattie. You're going to just give me a quick name shout out? Okay, give me that puck.
No, that was good. I had a good laugh at that one. That was nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You've seen Kyrou in the minors and the NHL. Like, no surprise as to what he's done this year for you?
No, I don't think. I mean, I think he was due for a breakout year. I was lucky enough to play with him actually in San Antonio for a bit. And, you can see the way he skates, the way he plays, the way he sees the game. He wasn't meant to be in the AHL. And I think he's doing really well this year. And obviously, the points got to show that too.
But I know we mentioned the COVID already. It's been running amok all over the league. They got to postpone all the games. A guy's getting frustrated in the room while they just kind of weathering the storm because there's not much you can do about it. What's kind of the mood in the room with this stuff?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, obviously, like we want to get back to normal, right? Like we want to be able to go out to eat at restaurants still and all that kind of stuff. And games are getting postponed and all this shit. It definitely sucks. But like you said, it's kind of out of our control. Like we're not the ones making these rules. We just kind of got to abide by them. But it is shitty. Like I'm sure everyone in all sports and in life in general, I think just want to get back to normality and kind of piss this shit off. So hopefully it can get fucked off pretty quick.
well put. When you won the cup, did you get a day with the cup? I know the certain parameters of what and who gets it and whatnot. Were you able to get it for a day?
No, unfortunately, I wasn't. I was. My wife and I were kind of talking about that, and my brother. And I mean, if we were to get the cup, I think it would have been game over. Like, it would have been so sick to have it back home. And it would have been cool, I think, for the league too, to kind of expand and, obviously having the cup in Australia, I think it would have been a great little marketing gig, but I don't think they just had time to kind of fit in the trip to make it down under.
I mean, the positive is you don't get recognized at pubs. So, you got to kind of,
exactly,
and then you don't have any billboards as well. So,
yeah, true. Yeah, true.
So you obviously got a ring because you ended up playing in one of the Stanley Cup Finals games, correct?
No, second round game.
Oh, excuse me. I thought you played in the Stanley Cup the final series. My apologies. But what was that like when you found out you were actually going to get in the lineup?
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, obviously I didn't have an inkling I was playing. I must have been fourth on the list to get put into a game, but there was obviously a few injuries, and I believe Willie was suspended at that point too. So yeah, I just go to the rink and see my name plugged in on the fourth line and was like, holy fuck, like I'm playing. I haven't played for a month and a half because we didn't make playoffs in Hershey. So I was like, all right, well, I better put the work boots on this morning and do something good. And then, it was unreal. That atmosphere was sick. And I'm so glad I got to play in that one game.
Safe to say you're running on pure adrenaline during that one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you think you're not really going to get in, so you're not mentally dialed in with stuff like that. But I had to flip a switch pretty quickly for that one.
Averaging a point a game in the playoffs. You can't be
not too bad. And over a point per game this year.
No big deal.
Well, buddy, we really appreciate you coming on. All right, you have something else for him? Sorry.
I just wanted I know when you got the hat trick the other night, you said you got a nice little bump on your merch site. I wanted to have you share it with the crowd so you can get some more hits there. What's your site?
Oh yeah, it's www.thestormdownunder.com.
www.thestormdownunder.com.
Check it out to get strip. Was that strip club or something?
Thunder Down Under.
That's the only place he gets recognized there.
Yeah? You're every American League city you've played in, you're gonna do a little pop up.
I'll get you to be my model bid.
We'll do the me and RA will do what was the one back on SNL when it was
Chippendales,
Chippendales.
Like Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley.
Let's go, Walks. Thanks so much, buddy, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, guys. It's been a blast.
Anytime, man. Keep ripping it up. Have a good one.
Will do. Thanks, fellas.
Take care, buddy. Thank you. Man, huge thanks to Nathan Walker for joining us. What a great conversation, Biz, we had with him. Just a friendly guy, happy to be where he is. And, of course, that Australian accent. I mean, I could talk to people like that all day, man.
I couldn't hear it at first, but it popped out afterward. I bet you as he said, with a few cocktails, that's when it really comes out.
That's like when Wick gets drunk and he sounds like me.
Do I? That's something I got to work. That might cause me to quit drinking.
Yeah, how you doing? All right. Well, either way, that interview was also brought to you by No Days Wasted. Who's been boozing this holiday season, Biz? Well, be ready to bounce back the next day with No Days Wasted. The exclusive holiday sale is live now. Everything is how much, Biz?
30% off with a Biz30 promo code, and it's a risk-free trial, RA. And they don't even just have the DHM Detox, the No Days Wasted Hydration Replenisher, the vitamins. They got tons of supplements that you can use. Once again, Biz30 promo code, No Days Wasted
.co.
Not com, .co, folks. I love this stuff. And as I mentioned already, risk-free trial. It's in my water every single day, their hydration replenisher. When I'm boozing, I'm handing out the pills at parties. They break down the toxins of the alcohol before they get to your liver. It's a natural supplement. And guess what, folks? It's a risk-free trial for the fourth time already. So, RA, take it over.
DHM Detox is a 100% risk-free purchase on your first box. So if you don't love it, they'll refund you. This is a no-brainer at the very least. Give it a shot. And if you don't like it, you get your money back. And let's not forget New Year's. Be prepared for New Year's Eve and wake up feeling fresh for the Winter Classic in 2022. No Days Wasted has got your back. You need DHM Detox delivered quick. No Days Wasted is now on GoPuff. So that means delivery to your house, a party, or the bar in just 30 minutes or less. Just head on over to GoPuff and search No Days Wasted. Once again, the promo code BIZ30. for 30% off at nodayswasted.co, just like that southern state, Colorado. That's nodayswasted.co for no days wasted after drinking with Biz30. Boom.
Lock it up.
Fucking right, baby. All right, let's see. Moving right along. Ah, man, this is a fucking tough one to watch. Brett Connolly, Chicago Blackhawk. He got 4 games for an interference hit on Tanner Kero. And then after the game, we got a very, very emotional Joe Pavelski talking about the hit after the game. Of course, he had an awful hit similar to that in the 2019 playoffs, and it obviously brought him back to that point. Just a tough scene to watch that. But going back to the hit with Connolly, you know, here's a guy, I wouldn't say he's a bad, dirty reputation at all. He gets 5 for interference, a game misconduct, but why even make that hit right there? He commits before the puck is there. Like, Caro's not even close to possession. It's a needless hit, man. And, you know, 4 games, I had no issue at all with it. It could have been more, and I wouldn't have had a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the game's fast, and it just seemed like it was one of those brain fart moments where maybe he was trying to time when the puck got there, and it never really did on time. And as you said, it shouldn't have been thrown even in the first place, even if it had gotten there maybe in time. So ugly result, very similar to the Spezza thing where I'm left perplexed at the fact that this guy doesn't really have a history, and the result is horrifying. Now you go to Pavelski post game, and you know, there's been a few incidences through my playing career where I saw where afterward I was just a bit of a mess from seeing something that scary. One, when I was in minor hockey, I saw a teammate get hit and then swallow his tongue, and you just see them there, and they seem to be lifeless, and just situations like that. And especially with Pavelski having gone through it himself and seeing the reaction and the care that his teammates provided for him. And I mean, there's a guy who lived it, and this game can be very emotional. So it was hard to see him break down like that after the game. It was great to hear that the player ended up being all right afterward. But as far as Connolly concerned, I think 4 games well-deserved. And if anything, he probably feels the worst of anyone here.
Yeah, just a horrible hit. And I think you're 100% right, Biz, in that he's planning on the puck getting right to Caro at that time, and it didn't come close. I thought if Spezza got 6, he should have definitely got 6. Thought that was worse than Spezza's. So a little confusion there, but that's kind of usual with these hits and the punishments that get doled out. Pavelski's situation, it kind of made me feel bad, I think, looking back and how I was talking about it, in the fact that Cody Eakin got kicked out of the game for that. I didn't think he deserved to. It was an awful situation what happened to Pavelski, but then looking to how emotional it made him feel, I also did think back to the times I was on the ice when guys were knocked out cold, lights out. It makes my skin crawl thinking back to it now, let alone sitting on the bench that time. I remember Steve McIntyre with Edmonton put someone to sleep on the Flames. Might have been Radius Savanas. Maybe I might be mistaken that. Colby Armstrong's had some hits where it's just like the silence in the arena and the panic of kind of like you see the training staff and what a job they do getting out there. And it's like, I understood Pavelski to have dealt with that himself, to then see a teammate going through that. The emotion was real there. It was tough to watch, and I would have been fine with more games. It was just a bonehead play by a guy who in his entire career really hasn't done any of that.
Yeah, you hate to see that shit. I want to go back to the Spezza thing too. His suspension was upheld, but it was reduced from 6 games to 4. So I think his really excellent record of 19-year NHLer with 1,300 games or whatever it was. They realized this guy probably didn't mean it, so they did reduce it to 4 games.
Oh, maybe that's why he got 4 then.
Yeah. Who knows?
Conley, I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it.
But I don't know. Spin that wheel either way. Like I mentioned earlier, boys, standings tight as hell. Just 4 points separating the top 12 teams. Carolina, Washington, Tampa, Toronto, the Rangers, Florida, Mini, Vegas, Anaheim, Nashville, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, all bunched in that within 4 points right there. The Canucks 6-0 under Bruce. Now the team's getting shut down just as they heat up. Boys, do you think this will kind of curtail the momentum at all? Have any effect? What?
Well, listen,
I mean, so. I'm getting owned online by Canucks fans. Let's hope this slows them down.
Talking to some guys from Philly last year, they were rolling. And then that whole shutdown happened and they got back to the bubble and they weren't able to, not last year, excuse me. It was the year before. So some people who are jumping down my throat already, this type of shutdown, 2-3 weeks, it can throw the whole fucking chemistry of the team off. All of a sudden, certain guys maybe not keeping as in shape as they should, or staying away from the holiday treats. And yeah, that's all it can take, RA, to throw off the feng shui of a team, man.
I will say I don't know if they're one of the teams, I'm guessing they are, that had to shut down their facilities, where I think there's a few teams you can go right now if you're not positive, but some you can't go at all. Like Edmonton today shut down all their facilities. So I don't know when Vancouver will be on the ice as a team again, but if you're looking at a good part of this for them is even though they're buzzing 6-0, you're going to get time where Boudreau can really get his systems in the way he wants this team to play. Like there's more time for like a mini training camp per se.
Yeah.
I don't need.
Boudreau is going to find those systems at the top of a Whistler mountain, maybe at an après ski up in Whistler.
We're not going to stroke off too many teams. I know we get every Twitter feed.
Nashville deserves a little love, right?
Oh my goodness, juice!
Boom. I got the two teams that have 7-game streaks. They're the ones we're going to stroke off. Pittsburgh 7 straight to take over the first wild card spot. Nashville also won 7 straight to rocket up to second in the Central. Back to Pittsburgh. Tristan Jarry appears to be the real deal, and they're doing this all without Geno Malkin. They throw him back, then sky could be the limit. Nashville, UC Saros. I've been stroking this guy. He's my one of my many Vezina picks. He's been the best goalie for the last calendar year. If you add up the last 2 seasons, his save percentage, his 5-on-5 save percentage, by far the best goalie in the league. And the Preds, man, they're fucking second in the division. I don't think many people had that wit.
Talk about a reverse jinx by me. I said they were going to be a lottery team at the beginning of the season.
No, I said they were missing playoffs. I said every team, they get progressively worse every season. They mean progressively better. Fuck, I thought Winnipeg lost out in the second round one year. They went to the conference fucking finals.
I don't know. What do you want to hop into? Nashville or Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh, we've kind of mentioned what they've done with the injuries, with Crosby out, Malkin not playing, and we talked about Gensel, and then Evan Rodriguez deserves some love. He played at BU for 4 years. He was a Buffalo Sabre, and now he's just taken off on the Penguins. He's scoring this year. He's playing an enormous role in the first power play. He's got a great shot. Just one of those guys as they continue to stay relevant and a really good team that kind of comes out of nowhere to have what's going to be a career year. Nashville's they got great D, the goaltending. Nashville, talk about doing it like with names you don't really know much about or that are not household names yet in the league. Like you have Duchesne and Forsberg coming back's enormous and Johansson playing well, but then they got guys like I don't know much about the dude fighting Chara, Trennan. There's Olivier playing. I don't even understand where they find them. I don't know their backstories, but I know that they're good and they're playing well. How's that for analysis?
Boom, done. I got 40-1 on Saros for the Vezina. Those aren't
what?
Yeah, 40-1 beginning of the year.
Wow, when did you get that? Before the season?
Yeah, prior to the season. Yeah,
you said it on the pod too, RA, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I mean, granted, I gave out 75 fucking picks for all the trophy awards, but Saros was one of my favorites. So yeah, those are the 2 hottest teams in the league. But we had some great highlights. We're gonna go to the Sabres Penguins this week. Great clip of New Jersey Devils general manager Tommy Fitz and his wife Kerry. Their son Casey, he got drafted a couple of years ago. It was his first NHL game, and he gets in a scrap with Pittsburgh Sam Lafferty, and it was just perfect, like hockey parent picture, right? Right, Whit? Fucking the old man's clapping, and the mother's like peeking through her hands, and proud parents. They flew to Pittsburgh to see the son's first game. Just the stuff we love to see in the league, whether we know the folks or not.
Oh, and he was throwing rights and lefts too. I was impressed. It was a college hockey D-man that's played pro a little bit and knew what he was doing, and I was real happy for him too. So that was a great moment.
Also, Biz, I know I mentioned earlier, but that Malcolm Subban save on Evan Rodriguez. Had you ever
it was
seen
insane. It didn't make any sense.
I've never seen that before where a guy went, with his opposite hand behind his back like that. I don't recall it. And it was a clear save too. It never crossed the line. We got to give full props for that because that was an absolutely amazing save.
I think he's got save of the year in the clubhouse right now.
There's so many contenders this year. I mean, every year the goaltender is so freakishly good, but that was insane. So yeah, Malcolm's probably the leader in the clubhouse right now. One last note out of Buffalo. Welcome back to our pal Alex Tuch. Well, he was supposed to make a season debut Monday, but Buffalo did get postponed with all this COVID shit. So Tuch will be back whenever the next game is. He missed the first 30 games, recovered from off-season shoulder surgery. I always struggle with that.
I think he could light it up there.
Dude, and he really is happy to be there, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's a local kid, and I know people who wants to play at Buffalo. Like, yeah, a kid who grew up and rooted for them. Like, why the fuck wouldn't he, you know? And, you know, he's our pal, and we can't wait to see him get out there and fucking bust a move out there. Let's see, the Zegras. It's a thing. The Western Hockey League last week. Portland pulled it off. A couple of youngsters, unreal stuff to see. And then we all of a sudden we get Torts again. Was Torts backpedaling? Gee, we got a little audio from Torts.
I live under a rock. I didn't realize all this was going on after the show. I mean, Ray, myself, and Ricky had a really good conversation regarding my comments. But then a coach in the league sent me an article yesterday, and I read the article, and I saw what this kid was going through as far as the questions that were being asked of him. Mm-hmm. And my heart dropped because that is the furthest thing from my mind was criticizing this kid. Mm-hmm. That was a tremendously skilled play by a tremendously skilled player, both him and Sonny. My thoughts were, is it a hockey play? And we can debate that all the way through here. Agree, disagree. I'm not saying which right is wrong, but what bothers me is the media. Yeah, the media. I do think they have taken it to another level where they put this kid in a tough spot. And this is what I feel terrible about, is that my comments have been taken out of context and almost is trying to pit me and Trevor against one another. That is the furthest thing I want it to happen. I do not want to interrupt anybody's play, any team's play, through comments. If media has disdain for me, so be it. What you feel about me is really none of my business, but it is my business when you turn my words to a kid, a 20-year-old kid, and put him in that type of spot. And I feel terrible about that. And I've reached out to both him and his coach. I've had conversations. And, I don't feel great about that. And I hope he does it again, quite honestly. You don't have to agree with it. And I stick with my thoughts as far as what I think it is. But I wish him nothing but the best.
I mean, you know, he's saying one thing one week, and now it's like all the game all together. So I don't know, Biz. Is this a back?
Well, we talked more about Torts for the Zegras than we did Zegras for the fucking Zegras. So I think he's fucking winning. I thought that the most talked about thing was going to be the fact that he was walking out with Baby Yoda.
Oh my God, dude. That's the fight.
Why was he carrying?
I'll say this, and I'm sure some people are like, "Oh my goodness, you're going to spend more time stroking off Zegras than you are pumping the tires of the Nashville Predators." I will say the NHL has craved a type of image like Zegras is providing to the NHL, a laid-back surfer dude in the National Hockey League, and something that he's done this year is just having ripple effects through every league below the NHL. So I don't know how we can avoid talking about him, but definitely good for the game.
I mean, Friday night, it was Star Wars night for the Ducks Yotes, and he shows up at the presser with the Baby Yoda, like, you know, satchel over him. And he not only walks up to the mic, he pushes the button so, like, the audio noises that Baby Yoda will make will get caught on the mic. And he's like, "This is Baby Yoda, Guru." Like they call him, like that's his other name, which is just Gru, but he's like Guru. He's like, and tonight's Star Wars night. Nah, he's going the game. Like he's coming with us. Like, I mean, like it's just like a childlike fucking innocence. It's hilarious though that he just like it's so good for the game, man. I don't understand how people like can't like.
I can't really think of I can't think of a kind of a laid back surfer type dude that the NHL has ever really had.
Joe Thornton.
Yeah, I mean. But he's also Canadian, and I think there's also like a kindness to him where I don't know, RA, you were around more so Boston in his early days. I know that he wasn't this hot coming out of the gate.
No, but honestly, that's a great call by Connolly because like when I got Joe's autograph, he was like 18 his rookie year, and he totally had a Spicoli vibe to him. Not that like when we say that, we don't mean like the weed smokers, nothing, just like a surfer, chill, wicked, like relaxed vibe. And that's what Zegras has. That's what Joe had. But he just like doesn't care, man. Like that, he's like, hey, whatever. Like I'm gonna go home with his like Yoda fucking satchel and
I would say Jeff Carter maybe a little. Like he doesn't do the like laid back, but he seems to be pretty laid back. I guess I'm thinking of like the hair and the tan. That might be it. What's hopping into my head for the surfer.
What was Joe embracing it? Was he, the younger vibe? Was he being a little bit sillier in interviews?
No, I think he was probably someone on the shy side because Pat Burns was the coach early and it was a veteran locker room. And I don't think he, of course, this was 20
Torts 2.0
years ago. Yeah, he couldn't show too much personality. Whereas, like we keep talking over and over again about the new culture, young players, and like if you don't let it bother you, like Zegras doesn't, then just keep doing it, and people keep talking about you.
I will say it's probably a good thing that he is playing in Anaheim and that Dallas Eakins is in his second tour as a head coach, right? Because
they're winning.
Of course, winning changes everything, but I would say that probably a decent amount of head coaches probably wouldn't be as receptive to how ridiculous it's gotten off the hop here. Is that a fair? And when I say ridiculous, ridiculously good, he's busting out he's probably done more interviews in this half a season than most guys will do in their entire careers.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's like just his fun loving, bubbly self. And,
so the fact that the organization and the coaching staff is also embracing it is probably helping for the mojo. So definitely some funny stuff. And
by the way, I didn't know, I was reading up about the Maurice stuff. So when he was fired, that they talked about like coaches who could be gone next year. I didn't realize Berube and Dallas Eakins don't have deals for next year right now. So because all the other coaches have been re-upped, like Bednar and Cooper and all that. But I was surprised by that Eakins right now is lame duck coach. That's tough on the mind.
Yeah,
I mean, unless you're sitting pretty, where every time you see a coach go down, you think your dollars are going up, baby.
Bottom line is this is the most we've talked about the Ducks in quite a long time, and it's largely because of this kid. So also too, if he does a Star Wars night, we may have to get together in Vegas and rent the theater one night while we're out there for the All-Star.
Never seen.
Yeah,
Star
probably
Wars.
not.
Never seen Star Wars.
Wait, you never saw the original?
Me either.
No, and I have no desire to. I know it sounds like I'm just not a sci-fi guy.
Yeah, okay.
And then I know I watch Game of Thrones, but that's like different sci-fi.
No, that's not sci-fi. That's not sci-fi.
I'm not a sci-fi guy.
Yeah. No,
I don't have a sci-fi bone in my body.
I respect that. Like my old man, I get my love of movies from him. He, as a divorced father in the 70s, we went to movies every fucking week. He didn't do sci-fi. Like I had to go see those off for my cousin. So I can respect the sci-fi vibe.
Speaking of sci-fi, boys, I'm about to log off here. I got some plans tonight.
All right, Biz.
Saying, well, what are you leaving Chiclets? No, guys, we're going back OG status. Just R.A., Grinelli, and Whit. Have fun. I'm off.
Before you do go, actually, Biz, should we get a couple coaching notes in before we send it to our second interview? Or
sure.
All right. No, I figured that, the big reason we had on Jim Playfair was that he was your coach back in the day. I don't know if you want to have a few words.
I think I've said my piece, and we're going to joke around about a little bit during the interview here, but he was an awesome guy, man, and having assistants that you can approach and joke around with on the side is very important. And he always made me feel welcome and like a part of the team, although he was bag skating me most days. And we had a great relationship, player coach. So I hope you guys enjoy the interview. I will not be here when you get back, but we'll see you next podcast.
All right. Well, Biz is taking off, but we are going to bring on his former coach, Jim Playfair, shortly. But we do want to tell you that this interview is brought to you by OCB Rolling Papers. OCB is the largest rolling paper brand in the world and has been one with nature, crafted naturally since 1918. So they've perfected the process for a consistently great session time after time. Like I tell you all the time, I am an OCB convert because they give me a proper burn every time I have a sesh. So make OCB Bamboo your new second favorite plant. Ask for OCB wherever you buy your papers and sample the entire line of products. In the meantime, OCB has an unreal deal for our listeners. You visit ocbusa.com/chiclets to get 4 booklets of OCB and a rolling tray for just $4.99. Telling you, this is the best deal on the internet. The bundle's worth easily $20. It's a limited time only. Follow OCB on Instagram at OCBUSA to stay in touch with the natural wonder of OCB. You must be 21 to buy the papers and to follow the social accounts. But I would not say you're wrong. Listen, guys, I've converted long ago. OCB is the way to go. And now, without further ado, we're going to send it over to Jim Playfair. All right, it's time to welcome our next guest. He played professionally for 9 years before getting into the coaching business. Between the East Coast, AHL, and NHL, he's been behind one bench or another for about 30 years now. And while in the NHL, he won the 2001 Calder Cup as head coach of the St. John Flames. And nowadays, he's an assistant coach for the Edmonton Oilers. Thanks so much for joining us on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Jim Playfair. How's it going, Jim?
Great, thanks, guys.
A pleasure having you, man. So you go back with Biz a few years. That's the connection here.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we had some fun in Arizona back in the day for sure.
Jimmy was the one bag skating me I never even got your side of this story. Remember in Winnipeg when I put that stupid post on Instagram bitching about the price of the Fairmont water, and then you got called over. Well, I think it was right at the beginning of my bag skate, and he must have told you because you came back and you weren't as friendly as you normally are, and you bagged me twice as long and twice as hard. So what did Tip tell you when he called you over?
You know, times were tough in Phoenix. We had extra money for high-priced water, so it was like get it from the rink or don't have any water. So.
What was Tip saying to you? I mean, like there was a few times that I ended up pissing him off, but I mean, I loved you guys as coaches. You were always great as an assistant, always a joy to be around, but that must have been a pretty wacky experience.
No, we loved you. You know what? You've always brought the juice and the energy. And obviously, you're such a big important part of the team. We'd laugh at some of the stuff you did, but we couldn't come out and laugh with you because it was like so off the rails. We had to like somehow act like we were on the right side of the law, but a lot of times we were like, oh my God, that's hilarious. But we had to toe the line, right? So
I wouldn't say you did such a good job of hiding it. And then of course, I got to meet your boys. And I mean, the ones went off to, he's a superstar now.
Yeah. Keep that under your hat. Don't.
Well, hey, so I actually heard rumblings that the reason that he got his original break with LetterKenny was because they're like, oh, that's Jimmy Playfair's boy, the one who like snapped on television during your Abbotsford moment there. Is that true?
He told me what happened was he got interviewed. Jerry Kiesel, the head guy of LetterKenny, and him were playing hockey together, and he introduced him to his agent. So his agent sits down with him, and apparently she says, I don't need another good-looking hockey player that can't act. If I tell you to, lose 5 pounds or get your hair cut or do this or do that, like, I don't want you pissing around thinking you're bigger than this, hockey player. And so she's kind of lighting him up a little bit, and he says, hey, listen, I'm going to show you something. So he spins her computer around, shows me trying to straighten the referees out. Like, look, this is my dad. I can handle any shit you can handle. She's like, all right. So she took him on as a client, and that's kind of the story behind.
That is unbelievable.
Well, so if we're going already into that, one of the all-time best coaching freak-out moments I've ever seen. What's the whole backstory on what happened? I think a player had ran the goalie. What was it that made you so upset for that to go down the way it did?
Well, first of all, I was right? I mean,
of course.
The screwed up. What happened was at the start of the game, the play comes into our zone, and one of their players comes by, and our goaltender freezes the puck, and as he rolls by, his knee catches his chin and knocks his mask off in the corner. So the referee skates over by our bench, and I'm like, no goalie interference, nothing there. He goes, don't fucking worry about it. Just focus on coaching the team. So the players on the bench go, ooh. That sets it up. So then near the end of the first period, their goaltender, the play was in their zone. He goes side to side and he falls over and he's hurt. And so the play leaves the zone. And I'm yelling at the referee. I'm like, hey, their goalie's down. He's in pain. So they drag him off the ice. It ends up that he had broken his ankle when he went side to side. So they put their backup goaltender, their backup goaltender. So now we start the second period. We shoot the puck down the ice. Goaltender comes out to freeze, and as he freezes, he kind of does the old one knee kind of turn, but he's about the hash marks, and he turns, and JD Watt, our really good competitive guy for us, he's chasing the puck down the ice. He jumps over his pad, slides into the corner, and their tough guy, their captain Alex Henry, they're kind of talking. JD's on his elbow, kind of looking up, and Henry's looking down at him. They're having a conversation. And I think, well, that's their tough guy. That's our tough guy. If they got a beef, they're going to sort it out. And then the next thing you know, JD's kicked out of the game. So I call a referee over and I'm like, what happened? What did he say to you? He goes, nothing. It's goalie interference. I'm like, or whatever. I'm like, are you kidding me? So he skates away. So I grabbed the stick and literally, honestly, just to make a big whack noise, and I break it. So I'm like, I'm all in. So I grab another one and I break another one. I get kicked out of the game. And so that's the short of it. My son, Austin, who is a stick boy for Hamilton at the time, he goes on and he gathers all 6 little pieces of the broken hockey sticks and he puts them all together and tapes them up and puts them underneath my desk. I don't know they're there. And game's over. We go home, and that's kind of the story of how it happened. And then it was an afternoon game. And so I talked to the team after the game and I give my whatever. And then I wait for Austin to be finished. We're driving home and I phone my wife and she's like, she didn't come to the game. She's like, I hear you need a whiskey and a tailor to fix your suit buttons. So I get home and on the way home, I phoned Dave Andrews, the president of the American Hockey League. I phoned Rod Pasma, his sheriff. I phoned Ken King, the president of the Flames. I phoned Daryl Sutter, the GM of the Flames, just to say, hey, listen, it's probably not on videotape. So I went to my office and checked during the third period, and there was nothing on video. So I'm going to do the solid soldier thing. I give him a heads up. Hey, listen, the referee phones and gives you a report. Just talk to me before you rule on it. Just look at the very first clip of the game, what they do to our goaltender, and after that, guilty as charged. Well, our PR guy takes the video that the Vancouver news, the news TV station from Vancouver was out filming the game. He gets that video, he takes a voiceover, he blends it together, and he puts it out there. So our video guy, our PR guy, our radio guy, sends it viral. So I go home, sit down, going to watch Hockey Night in Canada, kick back, whiskey, sitting back. And all of a sudden, my phone starts vibrating on the couch, and everybody's phoning me. My kid comes down and goes, Dad, you got 5,000 hits. I'm like, on what? And he's like, so then the next morning, we, whatever. And Rod Pasma phones me Sunday afternoon. He's the sheriff in the American Hockey League. And he starts laughing. He's like, what happened? So I tell him the story. I'm like, hey, whatever you're going to do, just watch the very first clip of the game. And then whatever you want to give me, So what they ended up doing was they fined me $500. They made the team pay the fine because our video guy put it out. And Reebok charged me $600 for breaking both our sticks. Because I remember at the time they used to give them.
Yeah.
You broke, you had to put them in a bag and send them back. So Daryl Sutter didn't phone me back till Tuesday afternoon. And all he phones and says, are you out of jail yet? And that's all he's. So it was, that's what happened, but that's the story.
Oh, and the funny part is, one sec, Biz, his assistant coach is behind him, kind of almost getting ready to catch him. It was Jared Bednar. He looks a lot different now with the flow he's got, but you guys go a long way back, huh?
How about Sean Weller? I grabbed his stick and he starts laughing.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that they got the old pullover, having a good chuckle behind you.
So the next day is a day off. So the players all go watch football. And Anaheim had loaned him to us because we were short of players. They needed him to play. He hadn't been there maybe a week. So they're all playing football, drinking, goofing around. And the guys are like, oh my God, what's Jimmy going to do? And they're like, oh man, he don't take no, he doesn't like that kind of shit, laugh on the bench. You're for sure going to go back to the East Coast. His mom phones him and said, you better get in there and apologize to that coach. I seen you laughing on Hockey Night in Canada. So Monday we go to practice and I don't know any of this. And we're standing at the end of practice. We have a little conversation and I liked him. I think he's a good player. So the meeting's all over. And I said, hey, Wellesley, come here. So he comes up to me and he's staring at me. And I said, listen, I think you'd be a really good player in this league. I said, when you're driving down the wall and you got puck in your six, I said, take it to the net. I said, you're a big, strong guy. I said, you just shoot pucks in the corner. I think you can get more pucks to the net. He looks at me and he goes, is that it? So what do you mean, is that it? And he goes, oh my God. He goes, I was so scared you're going to send me down to the East Coast. My mom told me I had to come and apologize to you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no,
this is awesome.
I was going to ask if he was a Hulk Hogan fan with the jacket ripoff there. Where'd that come from? That move?
And no idea. I swear to God,
in a moment.
No idea.
Jimmy, do you like being an assistant more than a head? I mean, I feel like it fits your personality a little bit more because, I mean, you seem a little bit, you like to, have conversations with the guys around the rink. When you're a head coach, you can't really, there's got to be that fine line, correct?
Yeah, you know what, Biz, my history with coaches is when I first started coaching, I was working with Ken Hitchcock. He was coaching in Kalamazoo. I was in Dayton. It was Dallas's Stars, like ECHL team. So Hitch was really excellent with me, helped me on structure and details and stuff. And then I went to Kalamazoo and I followed Hitch into Kalamazoo. And then I played for Daryl Sutter in the IHL. We'd won a championship together. And then I worked with Daryl in Calgary. And then I worked with Mike Keenan in Calgary. So those types of the style of coaching they have is heavy, hard, demanding. And I enjoy the head coaching role. I think what happened was, when I had the 1 year in Calgary, and then when you're out, you got to win your way back in. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'd love to get back and become a head coach one day, but you got to win. You got to win often. You got to win in the right ways, I think, to get a chance to get back. So I do enjoy my role now. I think working with Tip is outstanding. Work with the staff we have is excellent. But I think your passion is always to try to have a chance to be a head coach.
Head coach, yeah.
The year that you were the head coach of the Flames, you guys made the playoffs and they lost to Detroit that season. And were you a little surprised that Keenan was coming in that next season and that you were going to be back at being an assistant? I mean, because you'd had a good year. You got into the playoffs.
Yeah, I was really surprised. In fact, I think we had Daryl called me in and just said he was going to make a change. And we'd lost to Detroit, I think, in 6 games. And I just said, if I had a gun, I'd put a bullet in your head. I said, that's fucking bullshit. And he just he was crying and I was upset, of course. And we'd been together a long time. Like I say, in 1990, we'd started, interacting and working and, coaching together, or playing together. I was playing for him. But the decision was made and you move on. And so it was, I had a chance to, later on, I had a chance to go back down and work in the American League team when they started up the team in Abbotsford. So I got back into the head coaching role there for a while. But yeah, it was a surprise, especially the fact that we did have some success that season.
Jim, I mentioned your playing career. You were a first-round draft pick by Edmonton, but back in the 80s, that must have been obviously a pretty tough roster to crack. But you had a big assist on a Gretzky goal. When it was your first game?
Yeah, it was my first game. And, it was obviously it's an honor to be drafted in the NHL, I think, at any given time. And to have such a short career, I wasn't here very long. I played a couple of games and went on and signed as a free agent with Chicago. But to be able to come full circle and come back here and have the opportunity to be coaching back in the organization is it's awesome, actually.
I mean, there's a lot of tie-ins. Of course, you got to play with Gretzky. Now you get to coach arguably probably the greatest player on the planet. I don't think many people are going to argue against that one. Going back to the Hitchcock thing, though, you talked about this 4 basic areas to defend, and it picked up a lot of steam online as far as the Oilers fans very interested. Is that kind of your philosophy and theory towards coaching your defensemen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I try to get the players to understand is, I think everything has to start at the offensive blue line. If you can get yourself organized at the offensive blue line, you can support the offense. You can, get shots through to the net. I think you're in good offensive, defensive positioning. So if something happens, through the neutral zone or back into our zone, I always try to go back to the offensive blue line and say, did we gap up enough? Were we aggressive enough? Did we get ourselves set up enough to work inside the dots and defend the rush? And so I have a theory with a defenseman. I want each guy to get 1 shot per period. So 6 shots per period from our back end over 3 periods, 18 cracks at the net. And if we're doing that, then we're spending time in the offensive zone. We're supporting the forecheck. We're supporting the offensive part of it. And from there, then it's, you get back inside off the rush and you read through the rush, you protect inside the dots and you can kind of get a read. So it's basically offensive blue line, creating offense shots, having a good gap through the neutral zone. You read through the rush, you get organized, you see what's going on, not only in your immediate 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, but what's going on behind. We have trackers coming back. Then in the arriving in D zone, trying to get the first 1-on-1 stopped and get the puck and everything organized in the part of the ice where the players can come back and support. I think lots of times when you arrive in D zone coverage, we're rimming out the other side and all the supports have arrived on or near the puck. And when it's out the other side, you kind of lose some of that support. And then we have we can bring the puck out the same side the puck comes in. You generally have people around there. And then the fourth part would be just executing breakouts. When I first came here, I remember I sat down with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Leo and Connor and just said, hey, I think we can bring more pucks through the middle of the ice, exiting out our zone. I mean, we have you three guys to carry it through the middle of the ice. So we really encourage the defensemen to start feeding a lot of pucks into the middle of the ice, and it drives our energy and our team leaving our zone. So those are basically the four kind of principles we kind of work on, I think, here.
I look at a guy like Evan Bouchard, and he was top 10 pick in 2018. He continues to get better and better. So when you're working with a guy like that who has so much poise, like he has the ability to wait guys out. He's got a great shot from the point. So as a younger D-man, are you just talking to him about gaps, about things where you're at least like, I've seen a lot of hockey in my day to know that you're good enough with the puck. I don't need to mess with you there. It's away from the puck where I'm going to try to help you become that top pairing defenseman in the league?
Yeah, I think the biggest deal with Bush is he was here in the bubble and he didn't play much. He did a lot of, practicing and so on and so forth. And we really kind of developed a relationship on what we thought his game could become. And honestly, the biggest thing with Bush is to learn to respect the fact that he has a really calm demeanor about him and not try to change that, not try to beat that out of him. Let him have his calmness with the puck. Let him have the ability to get pucks through from the point and just help him organize the rest of his ice. I think the big thing with Bush is his ice management. Can you put him in more situations consistently where he can defend better? He's really strong. He's got a great mind for the offensive and defensive part of it. And the deal we made with him up front was, let's get your defense organized. Let's get you on the penalty kill. He's number one penalty killer for us. People would have never, ever thought.
Yeah.
And so he's got a real fundamental base of play. And then we did a side deal. I said, listen, let's try to avoid a bridge deal for you. Let's try to get your first 3 years of your deal to cover off all your bases. So your offense is going to be there. Your defense is there. So when your agent goes in to negotiate, you can bypass a bridge deal and get that 4 or 5 year term that sets us up to have you continue to grow with the group. And if we can do that defensively and get all the details implemented, then I think he's going to be a long time, really good player. I think the biggest thing is you got to respect the fact that it appears to be casual, but he's a great competitor. It's just a disposition that you can't take a stick and beat it out of him. You got to let him be his guy.
Jimmy, is it a conflict of interest to be his coach and his agent?
Well, hey,
you could be making more fucking money though.
It's a good point though for fans too, where sometimes they see guys and because they're not the grind it out and look like they're skating so hard that they almost think that guys are dogging it, where it's like that's just who he is. He's not dogging it at all. He just looks a little more relaxed doing it.
Yeah, I think we talked last summer about him trying to connect with Darnell and train with him in the summertime, because Darnell really is our leader in that area. And I think eventually what I've talked to Darnell about is as we bring Broberg and Sam Rukov and Legs and these young kids, as we bring them in, let's create a profile of what it looks like to be a really solid, good player through you. And so the video and the details and the structure that Doc's got in place, that can kind of be the fundamental framework of what all these other guys can aspire to get to. And so, give Bush credit. He went out and spent some time with Darnell this summer and spent some time training with him. And he's in great shape. He's a great skater. He just does it with a little bit, more of, it looks a little bit like he's not pushing and grinding, but in his own way, he's doing what we need him to do.
Jim, some guys, kill penalties, other guys don't. How does a coach know a certain player will just be useless when it comes to penalty killing? Is it like a desire thing, an effort thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the game's changed in the penalty killing mindset. I think now you see a lot more offensive players. Look at Vancouver did. I mean, to get Pettersson up to where they think he should be, they threw him in the penalty kill. And I think that we have the structure set up where ideally we're not blocking a lot of shots. I think if we're slow in some areas, we're going to end up blocking shots. And so I don't know how you pinpoint exactly who's, certainly guys are better at it than other guys. But I think with us, especially with Tip's teams, he likes the third and the fourth line players to have really defined roles where they feel like they have good ownership in the group. And those guys they take on a load of the penalty killing responsibility, and it really keeps them invested in the game. So I think that, at the end of our penalty kill, we last, block of time, we try and get Connor and Leon out there as much as we can. So it's, I think it's, a lot of things, but I don't think it's the old school where you got to stand there and block shots, as much as maybe in the past everybody did.
So one of your comments when you came in and you got control of the penalty kills, they were allowing far too many cross seam passes to get through. And is that kind of what you're referring to? Then you're going to end up having to lay out and block shots?
Yeah, we try to load up one half of the ice with 4 guys, and then anything that goes back to the far side becomes the goaltender's responsibility. So some teams play near side post and some teams play far side post. We try to keep the load on the strong side, and then kind of use the mentality of a 5-on-5, so the 4-on-4 battle, the puck goes through the seam and that becomes a goaltender's guy. So he becomes a part of it, and then it becomes basically a 5-on-5 penalty kill. So I think the big thing we try to do is recognize, can we get up ice pressure? And then arriving in D-zone coverage, we have a rule where off a D-zone loss, we want 15 seconds of just flat out pressure, just push and go before they got structure. And on entry, we want 15 seconds of flat out pressure before they get set up. And I think the players have enjoyed that freedom maybe to get themselves up and running and moving on the penalty kill, and a little bit of a push on it. And that's what we're trying to establish.
I know we spent a lot of time talking like video, but I'm a little bit interested. So when you first got hired, as well as the PK, you ended up watching each defenseman you guys had. You watched 20 full games to kind of figure everything out. And I guess your overall assessment was that just the back end needed more swagger. There was no swagger. Yeah. Is it also, on top of that, is it hard to get these young guys into watching all this video and learning about their game? Because Darnell talked about it. Is that something that they're like okay with watching and consuming so much?
Yeah, a couple of things about that, Biz. Before I came here, I took 20 games of each player. I broke it down. I just kind of built like a teaching video session for each guy. So when I came to camp, when I sat down with them, I'm like, listen, this is what I see. Here's where I think we can maybe have a look at getting better and improving. And then even with Duncan Keith and Cody Ceci, we did the same thing coming in and just sat down with those guys. And I phoned Duncan in the summertime and I said, listen, I'm going to take 20 of your games, so I need 5 or 6 at the start of the season, 5 or 6 in the middle, and 5 or 6 at the end, blend them together and just see what becomes consistency in your game. And from there, we'll sit down and have a meeting, and then we'll just kind of build your, just soon fine. And then I think the big thing that I try to do now with a defenseman is not to just stuff it down their throat. I'll take 3 games. I'll try to find, 2 or 3 games, try to find consistency. And then I'll have the whole thing built, and I'll just go by them and say, hey, listen, I got some cartoons you want to come watch, don't like, you know what I mean? And if they feel like they need it, they'll come. If they don't feel like they don't want it, they don't come. Because I think we're in a generation now where these kids have been watching video from themselves. Either they've hired someone to do it or a coach has done it. Their whole generation. I mean, there was times, when you guys were younger players, where there wasn't video. And now this whole generation, that's a big important part of their game. But I think now you got to kind of set it up where, listen, I did it today with Darnell. I had 2 games cut, and then we sat down this afternoon. I said, listen, here's some stuff. You want to see it? We can see it. If not, it doesn't matter. He goes, yeah, I'll come in the office after practice. I think if you leave it open like that, it's probably more of this is what you have to do. It's like, hey, this might be a better way to try it, or look at it from this point of view, or because what happens on a videotape is you get the overhead rafter, and you got everyone's got 20 more feet out there and 3 more seconds, and the coach the next day is going, here's what you should have done. It's like, really? But you would have been doing it back in the day. So not easy, So I think you have to leave it out there for him.
You mentioned Duncan Keith, and I love the move bringing him over. Hopefully he gets healthy soon and can be playing again. But what did you kind of take away from him, right, as a leader, right, when you met him and you saw the respect? He saw a future Hall of Famer, and I don't think he's resting on what he's done, right? He's looking to still be as elite and be as good as he can and help this team win. So did you see things right away that really stood out as to make sense as to why he's had the career he has?
When I sat down with, we talked over the course of the summertime, when I came to camp and we looked at his videotape, I said, here's my view of your tape. I can see why you guys have won cups, and I can see why you've had the success you had. From the top of the circles down to below the goal line, he's as fast as any defenseman there is in the National Hockey League still today. His ability to turn, get down, strike on a puck, get a puck off someone's stick, get back to position, support his partner is awesome. But what I found was once he started moving the puck up the ice, once he started going up the ice, he either deferred to his partner or at the offensive blue line, he wasn't thinking net first and his feet were facing his partner, his pucks were going back down low. And I said, I think you can really grow your offensive game. And he started laughing. He goes, holy shit. He goes, like, that's crazy. I wouldn't have thought that my feet were that way. And I wouldn't have thought I didn't get as many pucks to the net. So the theory of one shot per period and maybe not deferring so much to your partner. My point was, you don't need your partner to make the pass to the center iceman. You don't need your partner to make those plays for you, because the one thing about Chicago was he had a lot of different partners. And I think he really felt like he had to be the stay-at-home guy and be the stable partner. And I'm like, look at you and Cody and new kids on the block, you and Cody Ceci, let it rip. Like, just go do your thing. And now I think what you're seeing with him is he's exploring his 200-foot game again. I think he's having fun doing it because he doesn't say much, but his commitment to be prepared to play, his commitment in practice is why he's been around championships and Norris trophies. And that's so good for the rest of our players to see that.
You mentioned Tip, head coach Dave Tippett. You guys have a history together. We're together in Arizona. How far back do you go with him? When did you first start working with him?
Brad Treliving, the GM in Calgary at the time, reached out to me, he was assistant GM in Phoenix at the time. He reached out to me when I was in Abbotsford and said, we'd like to have you come down and interview for the assistant coach's job. And I said, I don't want to go back as an assistant coach. I left the NHL as an assistant. I want to come down, rebuild my craft as the head coach in the American League and see if I can't create another opportunity. And he's like, Brad's a convincing guy. He's like, just come down for the weekend and meet with Tip. And so I came down, we sat in the office for 2 hours and I told my wife, I'm like, if I ever come back to the NHL as an assistant coach, this would be the guy I would choose to do it with. And then I went out for supper with Don Maloney, and Adrian Aucoin had told Don Maloney at the end of the year, apparently, he said, Don Maloney said to me, what's your relationship with Adrian Aucoin? And I said, well, we worked together in Calgary. He's a great guy, and that's about it. And he said, he came up to me at the end of last year and said, I think with Ekman Larsson as a young player, you should reach out to Jimmy Playfair and see if he'd come in here and help you with him. So that was a good endorsement, obviously, by Okie to kind of get the ball rolling. And then the next day, I think I flew home and they called me and offered me the job. So that's kind of it. But I'd never met Tip prior to that scenario playing out.
Now, I mean, he's a pretty defensive-minded guy, or at least when he was coaching us in Arizona. I mean, that might have been a personnel thing. How has he adapted to now, coaching two of the most offensive gifted players on the planet?
He was just a defensive guy when you were on the ice, Tip. Because he was good at everybody.
Oh, that was not a lot of the time.
I think it's a misnomer that Tip's a defensive guy.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Guy. Yeah.
Yes.
I think Tip's a very responsible guy. I think his foundation is about building from a good base. He's built homes. He's built built motorcycles.
Yeah.
And his building teams is really his passion. So the foundation of anything, when it's in place and solid, just leads to offensive opportunities. And I think that, when you look at the reason one of the big reasons he came back to play was obviously the high end talent and the ability to coach in Canada and to see what he could do to push this group along. And, I think the one thing that from even your experiences with Tip, he's very well organized. He's very well prepared. He's very well thought out. And every year when they meet with Tip, they walk away feeling respected. And so I would say he's more of a coach that's organized, that gives players a chance to be successful. And he's got a deep passion for each guy individually to feel like they're a part of the team.
Yeah.
And somehow in all that, it gets lost that he's just this defensive guy, stand back and block shots. He's all about creating. I mean, he does want guys to chip pucks in, dump pucks in. If there's a play, make the play. If not, be responsible, take care of the puck type of thing. So I think that for me personally, it's been an excellent opportunity to work with a guy that is organized and is consistent with his approach to the game. And so, I think his ability and his offensive mind is something that he's
underrated. Very underrated, underappreciated.
Mm-hmm. It must be pretty cool to be around Ken Holland too. And this year he goes into the Hall of Fame and he's now there and looking to kind of build another Stanley Cup winner. Is he super involved with the coaching staff? Are you talking to him after games as a coaching staff, or is he more just kind of on the outside? He's looking at trades, he's looking at different things, and he keeps his nose out of what the coaches are telling the players.
Kenny Holland is an amazing person. The people you've talked to that have been around Kenny,
people love him.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why they love him. When it's about the business of winning hockey games, he's as serious and as intense and as focused as anybody needs to be. His knowledge and wisdom of the league and his understanding of agents and where they play their role within the players, his respect he shows the players is all in spades. But his ability to tell stories and make and tell you funny stories, he'll get on a roll and he'll be telling like stories from back in the day in Detroit. And during the bubble, remember how we had, there's 4 guys at this table and 6 guys at this table, and your tables was assigned. You were assigned on the seats in the plane, seats in the bus at the table. So exactly, we're all sitting there going, seriously? So we're all like, be nice to go there and have breakfast with that guy. All of a sudden, one day, and he just starts sitting at everybody else's table. He's like sitting with these 4 guys and sitting with the goaltenders, whoever the tables were. And we're like, all right, that's good. Now we can do this. And he kind of changed the simple little thing. But when he starts doing it, then we all get the green light and we started interacting. And I think he has an unbelievable knack and sense of how people feel each day within the group. And then he understands how to deal with that. But he puts people in positions to be successful. And in fact, there's times like we've been on the road and he hasn't been with us. And I'm like, hey, Tip, what can he say? Because I haven't talked to him in 4 or 5 days. He just lets you do your job. He just trusts you. And if there's an issue, reach out to him. But he doesn't babysit anybody, and he doesn't feel a need to babysit anybody. He treats you like pros, and he gives you the tools, and he expects you to do your job. And he's a cool guy.
How much have coaches had to adjust their styles in, say, the last 15, 20 years? Because this younger generation of kids, they're different than they used to be. They're, maybe a little more catered to. Have coaches really had to adjust how they approach them?
Yeah, I think, the non-negotiable, this is how we're going to do it, and don't ask questions and don't think there's a better way because my way is the right way. I think not only in hockey, but in society, I mean, they're in the blue ribbon society, right? Everybody gets a blue ribbon. It's like, no, there's still a winner and losers, but everybody gets a blue ribbon. But I think that it's changed for the betterment because I think that it helps everybody feel like they're an important part of it. I think I still think there's a demand and expectation that needs to be in place in the game. In fact, one of the things that drives me nuts is during TV timeouts and the 2 linesmen come and stand between the 2 benches. It's like, that's when the best chirps happen. That's when the best guys start saying, that's when Biz made his money, was telling other guys what he was.
Here we go. No, I made my money getting Gatorade and water for the officials.
But I think you need the juice of the game. I think you need the energy in there.
Yes.
I think you need the emotional investment with the game. And I still think that if it's not coming within, sometimes the coach has got to bring it. And I think that's not a bad thing. It's hard to win. There's only like 32 teams, right? So you need an edge.
Well, speaking of emotion, going back to your Oilers days when you're playing there, Gretzky, he ended up making a comment in one of the games you played in about the Devils organization, which for a guy who he wasn't very outspoken, it just so happens one of the 2 games you played, you were there for it when I think the Devils got beat, 14-2 by you guys? And he called him a Mickey Mouse organization, which I have a friend, Pasha. He's still bent out of shape about it. I don't even know if he was born when Gretzky said it.
A funny thing about that story is Ron Lowe, who was a good friend of Wayne's, was a goaltender in New Jersey. And I scored the 11th goal. Slap shot on the ice from the point, old school. I think Glenn Anderson picked the puck up and Gretzky skates by and goes, "Whew, thanks for taking the pressure off, kid." That's my NHL story, scoring my goal. But so in the old dressing room in Edmonton, where there was like a double stall, and that's where Gretzky's stall was. And he had like a double stall. It was right beside the door that went into the weight room. So nobody wanted that stall because the traffic going out of the weight room. So I come up and they put me there. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'll sit beside 99. Like, I'm good on this stall. The game's over. I think it was like 13-2 maybe. And media, all crowds around, all 4 media guys, right, crowd around him. And he just stood up and said, "Hey, that's Mickey. That's a Mickey Mouse organization. Like nobody should beat anybody by 11 goals in the NHL." And it blew up. And I remember the next day, the PR guy comes out and says, "Slats wants to talk to you." So Wayne goes in the office and they can hear him talking. Wayne's like, "I'm not going to apologize. I'm right." He says, "I'm not going to apologize." And Glenn's like, "Well, the president called. You got to apologize." He comes back and sits down. He goes, "I'm not going to apologize." And he was dead to rights. He wasn't going to apologize for saying it. And then I went wherever I went. And the next time they went to New Jersey, all those fans had those Mickey Mouse ears on their little half caps with Mickey Mouse ears on their head.
Oh, that's good stuff. That is fucking good stuff. Oh,
you must have been in a camp or two with that legendary squad, hey?
Yeah, it was
that must have been something else.
No helmets, no shoulder pads in camp, like practice.
Oh, no defense.
Never. Never. And you know what, though? I'll tell you something. What I do remember about the short time I was there was Wayne was at the front of the line, and he was the hardest working guy to start every drill. And he competed to the very end, and he competed hard. But it was when you don't realize how cool it is, right? So you look back on it, and you're like, wow, that was a pretty good opportunity to be around those guys. And as short as it was still a cool opportunity.
The game's changed so much from that era. It was so much more rough and tumble. What's something from that era that you wish we still had a little bit more of today?
I don't know what would be. It's cool to see guys out there with no helmets on the ice, but obviously back to that level of hockey. I don't know. I think I don't know. I can't specifically say one thing. Just there was a competitive nature, I think, that was a little bit more non-negotiable. And, it was a little bit of a harder time to have to get to the net, get around the ice. And I still think within the rules, that's an important part of competing. That's good to keep in the game, but I don't think we'll ever obviously go back to there. But yeah, it was a good era for sure.
Jimmy, you're obviously, go ahead. Sorry, Whit.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, are you guys one of the teams that have cut out pregame skates? And what are your thoughts on pregame skates and kind of how teams maybe got rid of them? Some teams still have them. Where are you on that?
We try to skate one time between games. We play, say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We try and pick either, for example, today was an optional, and tomorrow at the 8 o'clock game, we'll have a full pregame skate morning. So it's just based on, it is about rest. And I think the other thing today that's so important to realize is players are in shape and they don't get out of shape. I mean, they take such good care of themselves. They spend so much time looking after themselves. And I talked to Cody Ceci. We skated, we come here on the morning off before the game. We skated early in the morning, Duncan Keith and him and I, and he went out for a vitamin drip in the afternoon. And, whatever he did to make sure he was, replenished with vitamins and fluids to get ready to play yesterday. So we didn't do that back, right?
They're at the bottom of the beer can.
We had fluids. They were just different.
We got those vitamins in Pink Whitney, actually, for all the young hockey players out there.
And so now you recognize that, and you realize that they're in phenomenal shape. And so I think that you just got to manage their ice. I think it's important to go on the ice with a purpose, and just go on the ice because there's ice time available. I think you have to have a short, clear purpose on why you're going out there.
Well, you do such a good job of breaking down these guys around you and these players. We got to talk about McDavid and just every day what you're seeing. And I know Torts made a comment recently about him adjusting his game defensively, and I know you get to see him and you completely disagree with all of it.
100%. Torts couldn't be more wrong. I mean, I think when you look at it, and first of all, when you're around Connor, you realize in his own quiet way, he demands everybody around the organization be better. You want to be better. You see the dedication he puts in. You see the work he puts in. Zero maintenance. He was walking through the dressing room today. I looked down, his toes are sticking out of his socks. I'm like, no new socks found here? He goes, I love these socks. They don't make them anymore. He said, I want to keep them as long as I can. His toes are sticking out. And he's all ratty. He used the same stick. The trainer's got to go change his sticks out for him because he won't change. Everybody's changing their gloves between periods. Every TV time out, they're changing they got new gloves. He never changes his gloves. He's him and Leon, same pattern they came in the league with. They get skates, I guess, when they need new skates. And that type of approach to the game is what makes him, I think, part of such a good player. He's just focused on preparation to be better. And I think we've had this conversation many times. I've never seen a top end player adjust their game to a 200-foot game like Connor's made the adjustment. When you look at videotape of our team and you watch our team arrive in D-zone coverage or get down low to support the defenseman or get under a stick in the slot or get into a battle, Connor's involved in those things on the right side of the puck all the time now. I mean, he's steady players in the league that he respects that plays 200-foot games. Last minute goaltenders pulled, or when we are protecting a lead of the minute left in the game, Connor's out there all the time because he's in the right defensive position. He wins wall battles, and that's not because he's our best player. We want to keep him happy. It's because he's committed to doing the job. And I think when he takes these own faceoffs and he's studied that, he's worked hard at it. Tip's prepared to put him out there whenever he feels we need to draw one, just like Leon now. And I think it's for Torts to take a run at him like that. I think he's going on the highlight reel goals. And I think that's not fair to Connor. I think Connor deserves the fact that when you look at his game and you pay attention to it and study it, he's an unbelievably committed defensive player for us now. In fact, he's up there with anybody else in our team, I think, right now. So funny story about Connor, we're in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago and everyone's excited for Chris Russell chasing the shot block, So I come out between periods and I'll come out and Connor's standing there with Zach Cassidy and they got the sheet, the between periods, a stat sheet. And there's like 10 columns in the stat sheet, goals, assists, points, face up. So Connor looks at me as I walk by and he goes, Rusty didn't get a block. And I'm like, yeah, I think he had one for sure. He goes, well, he's not on the sheet. He goes, and I'm assuming that over here, BS must be block shots. I just never looked this far to the right on the sheet.
Oh yeah, I know exactly where it stops. I looked as far as it could go. There were still zeros.
He's like, I usually stop. After about the points, I'm good, maybe, but I think that's why I think when you pay close attention to him, you understand he's dedicated to growing his game and stretching his game to become the best player he can be on both sides of the puck.
Is he talking a lot this year, or is the entire team doing a lot of discussion? And we got to do this based on looking towards the playoffs. And guys, like we have a team here that we truly believe can go on a run. So it's little things, not just to win games now, but what's going to win us games once spring comes around. Are the guys talking about that, or is it more of a day-to-day, let's just approach each game the best and the most we can right now?
Yeah, I would say this. I think our game is under construction all the time. I don't think we viewed it as being this is going to set us up for the playoffs. I think when you look at our team, we had a great start. Like our combined special teams, like 140%. Like, I mean, that's just not sustainable. And I think that we're trying to figure out a way to have our 5-on-5 play be as consistent as our special teams have been lately. And I think that's where we are now. Like we lost a few in a row, and I think we've probably won a few when maybe we were playing not as good. And now we're starting to play a lot better last couple of games and the wins aren't there. But I think we're doing enough good things. We're creating enough scoring chances that keeping our game under construction all the time is kind of the daily focus as opposed to looking too far ahead.
I was just going to chime in about Tip's preparation. And I think he was questioned on analytics not too long ago. And I remember all these numbers and situations he was throwing at us. And it was essentially, I don't want to say analytics before analytics, but he'd been doing it forever. And I don't want to say he got offended by it, but he's like, listen, we know what these things are. We've been keeping track of this stuff.
Yeah, I think Tip's been doing it for a long time. It's basically scoring chances for and against. And then he'll create situations for players where, like how many hits, he creates an environment where everybody feels like their stats can matter at the end of the night. You know what I mean? How many hits did you get? How many pucks did you get out? How many block shots did you have? He has his own little kind of idea of what's important for a team to win consistently. And so I just think that his basic view of the analytics is only important to each player on the team to combine to have an identity. What's our identity? What are we doing good? What do we need to improve on? Not we're getting so many shots from inner slot or outer. It's he has his own ideas on that type of stuff. And so I think he observes that stuff. He looks at it. He kind of, sees what's out there, but he really trusts the system he's built over the course of his career. And he shows it to players every block of time. The players sit down and can look at it. It's only about what are we doing? What can we do better? It's not about trying to bury anybody or hammer on anybody. It's just like, here's where our team's at without the puck. Here's where we got to improve.
Jim, I was looking at old rosters from your AHL days, and I noticed you played with Bruce Boudreau, who just got back in the league. He seems like he must have been an absolute character back in the day. Yeah,
Gabby is an unreal, fun guy. But when he got on the ice, he's a great competitor. He's a great goal scorer, a great playmaker. And it was a lot of fun to be around Gabby, because I think as young players, you're trying to be so serious and so intense and so focused and scared to make a mistake. You want to have, when you're playing in the American League, when the scouts come down to the GM, you want to have them kind of catch you playing a good game, and his whole idea was just play good all the time and you'll figure out how to get up there. And his disposition about it was always like, he wasn't crazy about playing defense real hard all the time, but you get him the puck, he'll take care of the offense. And I think that's why he's been successful in the NHL. I think he has a fun way about creating offense, and I think he's very demanding and serious about defense, but he brings some juice and some levity to the group. And I think players respect that over the course of a long season.
Yeah, because he was like 30 years old, probably one of the older guys on the team. He must have bragged about being in Slapshot all the time, huh?
Actually, we had to pry that out of him, but he looked more like he was 40 than 30. But yeah, we had to pry.
Jimmy, is it basically just kind of a carbon copy between McDavid and Leon? Because I feel like it's an insult if we don't really talk about him too, because he's such an interesting player. One that some people thought that they overpaid at the time, and he's really turned into basically another McDavid.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing is about how they compete with each other and push and challenge each other. But Leon's got a great disposition about the way he expects the games to go. He sees it a certain way. He expects the group to push a certain way, and like what he does with the puck and in practice, and the stick he uses. You're right. What do you call it? Table hockey stick?
It's like a bubble hockey stick. The paddle on it. Like, no wonder he hasn't fucking lost a face-off this year.
His backhand pass, like the hand, gross. It's gross. But it's such a good combination. I mean, you back it up. It's kind of like the Crosby Malkin thing. It's a combination that gives you a chance to be dangerous. And I think, sometimes we get chasing games and Tip just says, I'm going to go nuclear and just like let it roll. And it's such a good
break glass if in danger.
Yeah.
Get the two-headed monster out there.
But they in their own way, they're both like very dedicated, very driven. And it's awesome when you see them working as hard as they work every day. It's not by accident. They don't, they're not blessed with a bunch of talent. They show up and they go through it. They compete and they work, and then they both demand excellence.
Do they do stuff in practice that if it was a game, would make you jump out of your seat on a regular basis?
All the time. And what's cool is they try to go against Darnell. They try to go against each other, and they have a competition. And sometimes it's full ice. The whole, like when it's, Leon versus Darnell or whoever it is, everybody starts watching. Everybody kind of stops to watch to see what's going to happen, because then they go full boat. And they just try to do whatever they can, whatever they can get after. But they compete hard in practice. They drive practice. They have when they get the puck in their stick in the offensive zone, they're looking to score. There's nothing soft or they don't let off the gas. And so when that happens, they're special.
Those poor bastards got to do the out of the gate drill with McDavid, and the D on the hash.
That's when I was like just seeing where Crosby was going to be in line and trying to finagle your way to be seventh when he's sixth.
I need a lace.
My guy's out. My skate's broken. I'll be right back.
I need my blade's broken. Next guy up. Oh yeah,
exactly.
Well, Jimmy, we've taken a lot of your time. I don't know if there's anything. Actually, I had one last one here. This might be a geeky, dumb question. I might be looking into it too much. You have the title of an associate coach. Is that different than assistant coach? Is that just the way that they write it in Canada? Or is that because maybe you're more involved in other areas than just maybe the D and
just a negotiating ploy come contract?
Okay, there you go. All right, I'll leave that one at that.
Hey, so he's going to take care of Bouchard and himself.
Yeah,
so
I don't fucking blame you.
Monster. I love it. Well, Jim, thank you so much. It's been a real joy watching the Oilers this year. I know a little bit of a slide lately, but still good things to come, and I really enjoy watching your club play. So thank you very much for coming on.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jim. Good luck rest of the year.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you so much to Jim Playfair. We really appreciate him coming on. Let's go oil. Love my oil. But that interview was brought to you by Simply Safe. If you've ever wanted to make your home feel safer, there is no better time than right now. This week, our friends at Simply Safe are giving Spittin Chiclets listeners early access to all their holiday deals, 40% off their award-winning home security. We love Simply Safe because it has everything you need to make your home safe. Indoor and outdoor cameras, comprehensive sensors, all monitored around the clock by trained professionals who send help the instant you need it. It's the best in the business. You can easily customize a system for your home online in minutes and even get free custom recommendations from Simply Safe. There are Simply Safe's biggest discounts of the year. You can get a complete home security system starting at just over $100. What a deal that is. There are no long-term contracts or commitments. It's a really easy way to start feeling a bit more peace of mind, which is what everyone wants when they're tucked in bed at night. Take advantage of Simply Safe's holiday deals and get 40% off your new home security system by visiting simplysafe.com/chiclets. Again, that's simplysafe.com/chiclets for 40% off your entire system. So go do that now.
Well done, Whit. Well done, my man.
Simply Safe.
Right,
Shout out them.
All right, moving right along. A couple more stories to get to here. After a long mediation session, the Chicago Blackhawks reached a confidential settlement with Kyle Beach. After all that horse shit that basically went on with that organization, for lack of a better word. And they're close to a settlement with John Doe, number 2. Hopefully everybody can kind of put this stuff behind them off this awful episode. And the Blackhawks, they had been fighting it for a while, but they've obviously decided to settle. So that's that. Locally, AJ Ketter, who was a local player, he suffered a spinal cord injury while playing for Bishop Feehan last year. He recently had a rink named in his honor. The premier rink at the New England Sports Village in Attleboro is now known as the AJ Ketter Rink. AJ said, "It's such a great honor to have a place named after you. This place is going to stick around for a while, so generations down the road see my name, and that means a lot to me." He's also an assistant coach for Bishop Feehan this year, and that's an awesome thing to see. Whit, like him still playing a role in this team after what's happened to him, and he's still a big part of the squad. So, AJ from the boys at Chiclets want to tell you to keep it up, brother.
Great work, and our boy Jake Teebs, Tebow. Absolutely. I know you hung out with him, RA. I actually went to the Floodmar this weekend where he played at Milton Academy, went through that awful injury. He's doing great, but Nobles took it down. I was at Nobles for 8th grade. So amazing. I love seeing the high school hockey. I was impressed by the pace of these games, but I know in the final had Jake, had Teebs been out there, I think Milton would have got it done, but I want to shout out both those guys.
Absolutely. I had honestly, the tremendous honor and pleasure meeting Jake and his parents, Tracy and Michael, a couple of weeks ago. He's basically my neighbor for the next couple of months here down the street. And they invited me down, and they're just awesome people. I mean, they've been dealt a pretty shitty hand for the next little while here. And they're just so positive about it and so welcoming. And like I said, you sometimes you go in a situation like that, you might feel sad leaving. And I walked out smiling with the inspiration and the spirit of that kid and the family. I couldn't help but feel good about how they made me feel leaving there. And Teebs,
same here.
We're your boys, buddy. And anytime you need anything, you reach out, and I'll be down soon for a game. So just want to give you a little shout out, my man. Let's see what else do we got here. Oh, yeah. It's episode 365. I know it's close to the holidays, but our buddy Mike Comito, he's had an excellent book series the last couple of years, Hockey 365. He's on version 2 of it. You can get either on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold, but great gift for the puck fans in your life. Some obscure stories, some well-known, but Mike makes them all interesting. So if you're looking for a late stocking stuffer, by all means, check out Hockey 365.
Great Twitter follow too, RA. Mike's the best follow on Twitter.
He's like I said, it could be obscure trivia, a fight you didn't know about. He's great online, and perfect holiday gift for you, for your friends who love hockey. We got to talk about this Charlie Woods over the weekend. Tiger's 12-year-old son.
What a clinic.
Apparently, European books have offered 1,500 to 1 odds that he wins a major before he's 22 years old. Are they too low, too high, or what? I would think I would want at least
seems crazy.
I would want at least $5,000 to 1 for a 12-year-old kid. I don't care who his father is.
Yeah, and I was told by somebody that apparently he's not like top 50 golfers for his age in the state of Florida or something like that, which
That's
I find
true.
crazy. Now, who knows if Tiger even has him playing in all the events? He might be like Jedi Master. You'll go out when I tell you you're ready type thing when you've mastered it all. He's almost like, who's the guy from Karate Kid? Wax on, wax off.
Mr.
Right?
Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, Tiger's a little Miyagi where he's just like, I'm going to train you perfectly before you go out and rip up tournaments. But the kid's swagger, you can't tell me that there's a lot in life isn't just general genetics, because the kid was walking around shoving in darts from like 170 yards. He's 12 years old. They made 11 birdies in a row. There's a scramble formation. So like Tiger hits a drive, his son hits a drive. Whoever has the best one, they both go hit a shot from there. They both putt from the same place, and they finish second place. So Tiger, of course, has made this like, This is a tournament. It's a father-son. It's a great tournament. If you love golf, it's pretty cool to see legends. And I believe everyone who plays in it has won a major, except for Kuchar was in it somehow, and he never won a major. So I don't know, but I thought you had to win a major, and then you could bring your dad or your son. So it's a great event. But now the fact that Tiger Woods is playing in it with his kid, who's this stallion, like it's just probably, I bet you the ratings were through the roof yesterday watching it, or Saturday and Sunday, excuse me. It's Monday now recording. But I was just so impressed by the kid, because you could tell he's got the confidence too. And why wouldn't he? He's got the best golfer of all time as his father, but just an unreal story. But to say like he's going to win a major by 22, I'd want way higher odds. Yeah. Maybe like win a major at some point in his life. Even then I'd want more odds. Like he's 12. Who knows what happens?
Exactly. He's 12. I mean, I would want even more for any fucking future odds. But that got me thinking, like, what if you could buy like other future odds on other life situations? Like if Biz says organization in the podcast ever again. Oh, that's a fucking slam dunk right there. No, what I was thinking was like a certain actor or actress who like you think they got like a really good future, and you could say, hey man, I want to buy stock. Like remember the Kevin on the Office? Who did he buy the stock in that was going to win an Oscar? Not Rob Lowe. Was it Charlie Sheen? Who was? I
don't know. I've seen The Office, but not like every episode. I don't remember.
I know,
but I would be down with that. Where you're saying if you see some 19-year-old actor and he crushes a movie, like I want to bet that guy wins Best Actor someday.
Absolutely, and I got 2 of them. I'll tell you right now. Do you know who Paul Walter Hauser is?
No, if I saw his picture though, I'm sure I'd know who it is.
Have you ever seen Richard Jewell?
Yes.
About the guy who was falsely accused of the the Atlanta Olympic bombing. Clint Eastwood directed. He played Richard Jewell in that movie. He's been in a handful of movies, dude. Everything I see this guy in, he absolutely fucking kills it. And like, he was so good at Richard Jewell. If I could put like legit $10,000 in stock and he will win an Oscar someday, I would do it in a heartbeat. He's that good of an actor. And the other one, as for an actress, Jessie Buckley, she was on.
I'm Googling her too. I recognize this guy, Paul. Jessie who?
Jessie Buckley. She's an actress. It's Jessie. She was actually in Chernobyl. I don't
recognize her.
Yeah, you might not. And like, she's been in a bunch of obscure roles. She actually was in Chernobyl, but she was the woman at the beginning.
She's the real Red Savage.
Oh, yeah, she's a redhead. She's in this movie called Wild Rose, which is a really good independent film about a woman who's trying to become a singer in battling personal demons. But she was on the last season of Fargo, which was the weakest season of Fargo we've seen on TV. But her character and her acting was so good, I like earmarked her. I'm like, all right, this woman is going to be a stud, or star rather, because studs aren't women. And then she was in I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the Netflix movie. Jessie Buckley, I would put 10 grand onto him, Paul Walter Hauser and Jessie Buckley easily to win future Oscars.
And what would you want for odds?
Well, right now I would say Jessie Buckley should be probably,
because both of them have never been in like a big movie, right? So like,
well, Hauser has been in a couple big movies. Like, I mean, he was in Richard Jewell. That's a Clint Eastwood movie. He's on people's radars, but yeah, I would want at least fucking 50-1. Considering neither has been nominated. They're still young. But yeah, I wish. And by the way, if anyone knows where you can put these type of wages in or buy these types of stocks, let me know, because
I think Europe, you can bet everything in the future over there.
You definitely.
Oh shit, we can't talk about this.
Oh yeah. Is the Ixnay on the Europe? We said nothing. So all right. Well, we could talk about gambling at the Super Bowl. Vegas is actually going to be at the Super Bowl next year, right? After this season, they announced it.
They should just have it every year.
They should, but
or they're like Miami, you know what I mean? Just LA, have it in awesome cities where you want to go with good weather.
But you know what though, like as an old school guy, it just pisses me off so much with that. After all these years of like crying about Vegas and saying how bad it would be to like have sports there and gambling, now everyone realizes it's harmless. Like Vegas is just another city with gambling. And everybody's having all the events there. They just look like the biggest hypocrites in the world for the last fucking 30 years.
I know, but you couldn't really, like, as much as I agree, like back when Vegas was run by the mob, like it wouldn't have been going down. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, they had more integrity when they were run by the mob.
No, but I know. But then when you're talking about like everything's changed so much in terms of like how everything's run out there. Before, it was such a gong show. It's like, how are you going to figure out how to get a pro sports team in there?
Yeah. Well, they always act like those
guys off.
Corruption was going to be right around the corner. But all right, well, that's about it for sports. I think the one final topic, Whit, I know Biz doesn't watch the show, so we didn't really need his input. The Succession final, season 3, aired last Sunday. What was your reaction to it?
Yes. So if you are Succession fans and you're not caught up, I would say maybe fast forward for a little bit. But we're going to go into what was one of the best finales. Every finale of each one of those seasons has been top notch. And this one, that final scene with them in there with that guy, like thinking they had the upper hand on Logan Roy for 1 second. And the entire car ride where they're talking about their plan and how they're all in and she's making the phone call. And then to see how it all went down, I was just blown away. I actually said this show is so incredible. I read some recaps after where everyone pretty much agreed. A top-notch finale, and for Tom to be the guy. Tom and Greg together, and then their conversation at the wedding, like it was just perfect.
Perfect. And like that guy Tom, he's actually an Englishman, Matthew McFadden or McFadden. I forget how to say his name. He's actually an English actor. He was in like Little Women or some fucking English movie years ago. Phenomenal actor. Like he's sort of basically been the cuck the whole time, and then for him to like do a 180 and spin the fucking knife into her back. And she deserved it, man, because she's a brutal wife, like a brutal spouse.
Oh, she's telling him I don't even love you. It's like, what do you just keep kicking this guy when he's down. The one episode when he's talking about like jail and she's like, will you just drop it? It's like, that's when I'm like, this poor guy, like he's got
her wedding night. She's like, I went on open marriage on her wedding night. And it's like, and that scene at the end of season 2, when they're on the beach at the lagoon and he's like, I don't know if it'd be more sad. I don't know what's worse, the sad when I'm with you or not with you. I'm paraphrasing, but like, in other words, like it was like such a heartbreaking line. He's like, I don't know if I'm more sad when I'm with you or when I'm not with you. Like, because he loved her and she was a fucking dick to him. So he was so torn. But to have him like realize he had that fucking trump card. Awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible TV. And I guess people had said like, prior in the season, he'd been bringing up a story with Greg that ended up being the case. And like, there was so much foreshadowing that I think if you went back and watched now the end final scene. And then the other thing was Logan, like these fucking kids, why do they deserve to be given it? That's the thing I was thinking the entire time. It's like, this guy has been and whatever Tom said to, Kendall at one point, like, I've never seen Logan get fucked once. Yeah, you know what I mean? In that one,
I've only ever seen you get fucked.
Yeah. And then in the end, though, all these kids, like, it's like, why did they deserve it? He's like, I'm the one that's done this. When the kids asked him, why are you doing this? He goes, because I prove it works. And it was just like, there was just so much you could talk about the whole season. I love that show. I don't know how much longer they said there's going to be.
They're basically, I would be shocked if there's more than 2 more seasons. Like they've asked Brian Cox about it, who plays Logan Roy, though. I mean, tremendous Scottish actor for so many years now. He said basically like, this can't go more than 2 more years. Like so they'll do probably season 4 than season 5. And I agree with that. I would so much rather a show end it like too early than stick around too long, especially a show like that. because, you could see a show like that get caught spinning its wheels by the 4th or 5th season if you're kind of doing the same shit over and over again. But this season,
there's need to be an end game and see how it goes down on that show.
Yeah, tremendous payoff. But plus, you said, like him and Greg, he went to Greg because like he's fucked with Greg for 3 seasons, but he actually went to him. It's like, are you with me? And he gave him that like, okay, last option, and he jumped on board with him. So yeah,
he goes, you can be near the bottom of the top, and Greg's like, that works.
Yeah.
He goes, you can have 15 other Gregs to yourself. He's
That's a great line. Yeah.
That show is classic.
What do I need a soul for? One other quick show, too. I don't know if you've seen it on HBO. I don't know, HBO Max. I don't know when they added it. It's called South Side. It's about the South Side of Chicago. It's a comedy. It's fucking hilarious, man. Like, I don't know where they picked it up from another network or not. And it's just like about some of the characters, they work at like one of those rent-to-own centers. So they're always like out, like trying to like track down the people who are renting stuff and like all the bullshit they got to go through on the South Side of Chicago. If you haven't seen it, man, I haven't finished the first season. It's fucking hilarious. It's a different kind of comedy. So another recommendation if you haven't.
I watched King Richard about the Venus and Serena Williams. Had we ever talked about this on
Biz brought it up. I hadn't finished it yet.
Great movie.
I have since.
So
Very
good
movie.
So
great
good.
movie. That guy is, oh my God. Like he was, it worked out exactly as he planned, as he wrote it out. But oh my God, watching it, you're like, wow. Talk about sticking to his guns and knowing. And the fact that he told Serena, you're going to be the best of all time. Like, it's just wild that it all went down the way he had planned the entire thing. And it's 1 in a billion the way it happened.
Will Smith was incredible, too.
He was awesome.
Unbelievable.
Taking the beatings in the park from like the gangbangers. That was a great movie. I highly recommend King Richard on HBO Max.
Yeah, it was good to see Will Smith like get a challenging role again. And plus, that like we said before, I think when Biz brought up the idea that this father had a plan to make, his 2 black daughters from Compton, like the best tennis players in the world, was probably like an inconceivable thought when he come up with it. And he made it happen.
And that's what everyone told him too, I think. Like, what are you talking about? I also think it's important. The show, their mother was just as big of a part of it. She was their coach too. And I think
absolutely.
You don't hear about that until you watch the movie. You realize like it was her and him. It wasn't just him out there doing it.
No doubt. Take fucking 2 to raise kids like that. Can't do it by yourself. But yeah, Richard obviously had the tennis plan. That's what I think is just the craziness of like having a sport that black girls haven't like succeeded to that level. And he had this vision and it worked, man. And he raised the 2 greatest like tennis players of the last 30 years. So anything else, Whit? Yeah, you've seen out there you want to recommend? Then I know you've been talking about like old flicks lately. Have you seen anything? On that
no,
spectrum?
I've been a little bit on the. I was a little busy this past week. I think the next one. Did I already say I want to watch The Color of Money? That's one I know. Somebody mentioned I want to watch that one. That's a sequel.
That's a sequel to The Hustler. The Hustler was
good. I didn't watch it first.
Yeah, I mean you could watch it without it. Haven't seen the first one, but it's the Hustler's like a classic movies from the 60s and
I saw The Hustle. I saw the Color of Money was by who's the director? He's very famous.
Oh, Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, so any movie he does I'd like to maybe see, right? He's got all the hits. So I'm like, all right, well, that's a Scorsese. Did he do The Hustler?
No, The Hustler. Oh shit, who directed The Hustler?
No worries.
No,
everyone, we don't have Biz, so obviously it's a little different, but we appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully the league gets figured out, and hopefully maybe RA you get some credit there on the news we broke. No Olympics. Come on, if that ends up being no doubt, and we banged it in time, and we were the first, I'm gonna beat that drum.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it wasn't. I'm not taking credit. It was a collective thing. It was a Chiclets thing. I put the blog up and made sure we bragged about it. But yeah, we'll make sure everybody knows it was us because you really can't dispute it at this point.
Guys, Chiclets Cups spots are still open. Go sign up right now.
Who doesn't want to come to Vegas? Let's
go sign up right now. We have influencers. We have former hockey players. We have current hockey players. We have celebrities. We have RA. It's going to be a blast. You're not going to want to miss this. I promise you that. So sign up now at chicletscup.com.
All right, everybody. Wait, I got one for you. You've probably seen it. Risky Business. It's on HBO Max. The Tom Cruise movie that made him a star. If you haven't
I've seen that one.
Seen it, If you
Seen that one.
anyone who hasn't,
Classic.
watch it. It's the movie that made him a superstar. And we have one last note for all of you wonderful Spittin Chiclets listeners out there. We want to wish you a very, very happy holiday season, whatever you may celebrate. We love you guys, and we have one last note for you, G.
We do have one last note, and for the amazing year of our Chiclets listeners, we're going to give them another sale right before 2022. Boxing Day, the 26th to 27th, 15% off the entire Canadian store. And you know what, RA? We don't just love our Canadian listeners. We love our American listeners too. So we're going to give them 15% off the entire store as well. That's barstoolsports.com/Chiclets. Happy holidays to the entire Chiclets nation.
Well said, G. And again, have a great holiday to everybody out there. We love you, and we'll see you soon.